Chapter 317. But Ning Qing knew that it was almost enough. Even if he refuted this person's surname Sen to the point that he was covered in cuts and bruises, in the end he would not be able to do anything to him, let alone really punish this person's surnamed senator. This was because he didn't know anyone who could support him. With his current strength, it was best for him to quit while he was ahead. Of course, Lord Sen has just arrived here and doesn't understand the situation. It's normal for some unruly commoners to complain about you. I believe that by now, Lord Sen should have already seen through everything. Ning Qing chuckled, as he spoke in a slow tone. The man surnamed Sen, whose forehead was dripping with cold sweat, suddenly came to his senses. That's right, he was an official of the legal tribunal office. How could he be afraid of the threat of a mere commoner? So what if he was telling the truth? He couldn't possibly report it to his boss, could he? Understanding this, the man's surname Sen immediately regained his composure. His tone and demeanor returned to how they were when he first arrived. I will investigate this matter in detail. You guys stay at home and wait for the results of the investigation. Although he knew that Ning Qing could not do anything to him, this man's surname Sen also did not dare to continue to do anything to Ning Qing. He had never seen a civilian who was so proficient in the laws of Yaluan City. He was even sure that even he was not as proficient in the laws of the Yaluan City as the commoner in front of him. Ning Qing on seeing this cupped his fists and spoke, such being the case, then Lord Sen, I will go back with my companions. I will keep an eye on the situation in the market square at all times. If there is any illegal activity, I will immediately report it to the legal tribunal office. Before he left, Ning Qing also spoke a sentence that was neither light nor heavy. What he meant was that if this man's surname Sen didn't give him face, then don't blame him for not giving him face. There was no way that the official surname Sen could not understand the meaning of these words. Ning Qing, how are you so proficient in the laws of the Yaluan City? As soon as the three of them left the makeshift market, Yin Kongchan asked in amazement. As soon as Ning Qing found a place to live, the first thing he did was to purchase the laws of the Yaluan City. The laws of the Yaluan City were not limited to just 1 or 2 books, but rather several thick books, each of which was densely packed with tiny characters. Even if they had divine sense, it would take them a while to memorize it. Now that they didn't even have their divine sense, it was impossible for them to remember anything. Ning Qing smiled and spoke, I have a good memory, so I can remember a few things that are useful to me. Yin Kongchan was obviously not very satisfied with Ning Qing's explanation. She knew that Ning Qing was definitely lying, but she did not continue to entangle herself with Ning Qing's memories. Instead, she continued to ask, then how did you know that you wanted to buy the law? Don't tell me you can guess what happened today. Ning Qing spoke in a light voice, in my hometown, it is also a place that relies on the law. Once you encounter something, and have no money to hire a lawyer, you can only remember some of the laws by yourself. I'm experienced, so I came here to look at the laws first, just in case. As soon as she spoke about his hometown, Ning Qing's mood immediately became depressed, as such Yin Kongchan tactfully did not continue to ask about it. The three of them turned silent, until they reached the entrance of a pill and artifact shop. Ning Qing stopped, and simultaneously spoke, wait, I'll go in and have a look. But we don't have any gold coins on us. I heard that the cheapest things here are priced in gold coins. Yin Kongchan looked at the pill and artifact store and spoke, she often passed through the entrance of this pill and artifact store, so of course she knew that the prices of the things inside were very high. Let's go in and have a look, you don't have to buy anything. Ning Qing spoke, as he walked into the store. In front of him were a variety of dazzling pills, weapons, medicinal herbs. It made Ning Qing think that he had once again arrived at a true cultivator city's merchant house. What would the several guests like to buy? Although Ning Qing and the other 2 people did not look like rich people, but the shop assistant still greeted them with a smile on his face. I would like to ask, how do you collect the aquatic essence tendons here? Is it a complete aquatic essence tendon? Ning Qing asked. The shop assistant immediately became excited, do you have a complete aquatic essence tendon? If you are willing to bring it to me, then I can give you 18 gold coins for it, no, 20 gold coins. Ning Qing quickly spoke up, I do not have it yet, I just want to inquire about the price. By the way, I would also like to ask, if an outsider comes here, how much would it cost to apply for a civilian identity? If you want to buy a small courtyard in a remote place, how much money would it cost? Hearing that Ning Cheng had only come to inquire about the price, the shop assistant's excitement immediately subsided. Nevertheless, he still replied in a very polite manner, to apply for a civilian identity, you just need to go to the Yaluan city's population registration office. It would cost you 10 silver coins. If you want to buy a small courtyard, then it would cost you about 50 gold coins in a remote place. If you want to go to a more prosperous place, then it would be hard to say. Ning Cheng, on listening to the shop assistant's words, fully understood in his heart how much Maong had cheated him. He had obtained a total of 10 bundles of aquatic essence tendons, each bundle contained nearly 100 of them. According to the shop assistant's words, his 10 bundles of aquatic essence tendons could be sold for at least 20,000 gold coins, while Maong had only spent about 50 gold coins on him. Moreover, this 20,000 gold coins was the price offered by the shop assistant. If an ordinary boss came out, then the price would definitely be much higher. Maong, this fellow was just too black-hearted. Many thanks. If I can get my hands on aquatic essence tendons, then I will definitely come to your shop to sell them. Ning Cheng thanked the shop assistant, as he turned around and left with Yin Kong Chan and Su Ying Dai. This Maong is just too black-hearted. As soon as they came out of the shop, Yin Kong Chan spoke up. Even if they were given a tenth of the price, they would not have to set up a stall. Ning Cheng showed a slight smile and spoke, expecting a businessman to have a conscience, then don't even dream about it. Although Ning Cheng was very ashamed of this Maong in his heart, but he did not want to do anything to him. Initially, he had said that the two of them would split it equally, but Ning Cheng had a clear distinction between gratitude and grudges. The three of them were saved by Maong. If not for Maong, then they would not have been able to find the Yaluan city. Do you still want to go to the white-robed ghost lake to get the aquatic essence tendons? Since coming out of the makeshift market, Su Ying Dai, who had not spoken until now, asked with some worry. Ning Cheng shook his head and spoke, if it was not a last resort, I would not spend a month to go there. That's right, the last time you said that there was a ghost in the lake, what was going on? If not for Su Ying Dai mentioning this name again today, Ning Cheng would not have taken this matter to heart. That night, after you went to rest, Yin Kong Chan and I made an appointment to keep watch until midnight. But I unexpectedly saw a man dressed in white, carrying a long spear on his back, walking around the lake. I called out Yin Kong Chan, and Yin Kong Chan unexpectedly also saw the white-robed man carrying a long spear. We knew that it was definitely not a real living person, but it did not look like a soul. Su Ying Dai still had a lingering fear in her heart. Even if they were once soul essence cultivators, when they did not have any cultivation, they were not much stronger than an ordinary person. Yin Kong Chan immediately nodded in agreement. It was obvious that what Su Ying Dai said was the truth. Ning Cheng suddenly asked, you saw the long spear on the back of the white-robed man, was it the one that I had brought back? No, the long spear on the back of the white-robed man was purple in color, because he was wearing white robes. The purple spear was particularly eye-catching. Moreover, that purple spear was much longer than the long spear you are carrying. It is definitely a top-grade magical weapon, it is not something that would rust. Yin Kong Chan immediately refuted it. She was a soul essence cultivator, as such she could still see through it. The long spear that Ning Cheng was carrying was also made from was not ordinary material, but it was not as good as the long spear on the back of the white-robed man. So it was like this. After Ning Cheng pondered for a long time, he suddenly wanted to go back to the white-robed ghost lake to have a look. Ning Cheng, I also saw a lot of good things for sale here, there are even rank 9 spiritual grasses. But the preservation is very poor, moreover the price is also ridiculously high. Yin Kong Chan, on seeing Ning Cheng pondering, took the initiative to speak up. Is there a heavenly cusp flower? Ning Cheng almost blurted out, he now had the geocentric 9 Yin essence, the only thing missing was the heavenly cusp flower. What is a heavenly cusp flower? Yin Kongchan asked in a puzzled voice, although she was not an alchemy master, but she was still very familiar with most of the spiritual grasses. As for the heavenly cusp flower, she had never heard of it before. Ning Qing quickly squatted down, and drew the shape of the heavenly cusp flower on the ground, while patiently explaining the characteristics of the heavenly cusp flower, its taste, and various other details. Yin Kongchan shook her head and spoke, I have not seen this kind of flower, it is also the first time that I have heard of it. Su Yingde suddenly spoke up from the side, I have seen this kind of flower. Ning Qing did not wait for Su Yingde to finish speaking, as he reached out and grabbed Su Yingde's shoulder, and excitedly asked, quickly tell me, where is this kind of flower? Su Yingde could feel the heat and excitement coming from Ning Cheng's hand, causing her heart to tremble, as she spoke in a low voice, in our Severing Emotions Tao Sect's spiritual medicine garden, there is a stalk of this kind of flower, which is heavily protected, it looks like it is very precious, Severing Emotions Tao Sect, I will definitely go there. Ning Qing put down his hand, as he secretly clenched his fists. Ning Qing did not pay attention to Su Yingde's demeanor, but Yin Kongchan had been watching from the side. Su Yingde's tone was soft, while her eyes were hazy and watery, as if she could not wait for Ning Qing to immediately rub her into his arms. Ning Qing, I inquired about how to get out of here. Yin Kongchan was very uncomfortable with Su Yingde's coquettish appearance, as such she took the initiative to change the topic. Can we get out of here? Ning Qing asked in a pleasantly surprised voice. This time, not waiting for Yin Kongchan to answer, a burst of hoofbeats interrupted the three people's words, as a team of guards quickly arrived in front of the Ning Qing trio. Last time outside the city, was it you who dared to look up at this little sister? A cold and indifferent voice came from the tall one-horned beast. Su Yingde and Yin Kongchan quickly lowered their heads, while Ning Qing once again looked up and stared at the man riding on the one-horned beast. He looked somewhat similar to the princess man from the last time, with a bloody aura covering his entire body, and an incomparably sharp expression in his eyes. You are right, it was me. Ning Qing calmly replied. Good courage, even daring to look at a prince, you are simply courting death. One of the guards grabbed a long whip, and was about to attack Ning Qing. The man riding on the one-horned beast waved his hand and spoke, yes, your courage is indeed not small. The two beside you are your women, I will also allow them to raise their heads. Chapter 318. Yin Kongchan and Su Yingde did not care about the prince's words, and just looked at Ning Qing, wanting to know what Ning Qing meant. But when the two women turned their heads to look at Ning Qing, the man riding on the one-horned beast could clearly see the appearance of the two women, and immediately sucked in a deep breath in shock. He had never seen such beautiful women in the entire Yaluan city, moreover he even saw two of them at once. He was different from others, in a place like the Yaluan city, even if ordinary people knew that Yin Kongchan and Su Yingde were shockingly beautiful, they would not dare to have any ideas about them. The laws of the Yaluan city were simply too strict. Once one had such thoughts, then they would face the fate of being strangled to death. He was the son of the city lord. If he wanted a woman, he didn't have to follow the bullshit laws like ordinary civilians. Are they all your women? The eyes of the man on the unicorn flickered as he asked in a deep voice. When Ning Qing heard this, he immediately knew that this person had taken a fancy to Yin Kongchan and Su Yingde. He was just about to speak, when Yin Kongchan spoke up in front of him, that's right, we are all his women. Hearing Yin Kongchan's answer, Ning Qing knew that Yin Kongchan had also read some of the laws of the Yaluan city. The Yaluan city was extremely strict when it came to robbing women. Even if the other party was a prince, he could not openly rob them like this. Even if they wanted to snatch it, they had to do it in a secluded place where no one would know. The expression of the man on the unicorn changed a few times before he said, "Can you give these two women to me? You can name a price and I'll agree to it." Ning Qing knew that under the laws of the Yaluan city, the transfer of one's women was a legal act. As long as both sides agreed, it was fine. He knew that the two women would not follow this prince, so he simply said, "I don't have the habit of transferring my women." The man did not get angry, but still nodded, and did not continue to talk about Yin Kong-chan and Su Ying-dae, but spoke up. I heard from Ma-ong that the aquatic essence tendons that he obtained were all harvested by you from the white-robed ghost lake. Hearing these words, Ning Qing then saw Ma-ong hiding in the distance. In his heart, he had already understood what this person had come here for. It seems that he did not come here for Yin Kong-chan and Su Ying-dae, nor was he here to find trouble with him, but rather because of his ability to cut out the aquatic essence tendons. That's right, I'm a martial artist, and I've cultivated the separating tendons and dislocating bones hand, which can easily sever the aquatic essence tendons. It's just that the aquatic essence tendons in the white-robed ghost lake are running out. Ning Qing replied. The man waved his hand and said, I'm not asking you to go to the white-robed ghost lake, but there's something else that I need your help with. If you agree, I won't mistreat you. Ning Qing spoke up in a light voice, the three of us are currently having a hard time making a living. Just a moment ago, the officials from the legal tribunal office were ready to take us back and lock us up. As for other things, at least we will have to wait until our lives get better before we can consider them. Elder brother Ning, I have been very busy these past few days. It was only today that I had the time to send you your share of the gold coins. I am really sorry, really sorry. Ma-ong, who had been hiding behind Ning Qing, on hearing him talk about the difficulties in his life, quickly came forward, and with a face full of smiles, he placed the 10 gold notes in Ning Qing's hands. Ning Qing took a look at them, and found that they were all in the denomination of 1,000, as such he did not remain polite, and directly put away the gold banknotes and said, Then many thanks brother Ma. Saying that, he once again asked, I don't know what the prince needs my help with. Ning Qing certainly knew that the reason why Ma-ong gave him the gold notes, was because he was the one who introduced the prince to him. In case he turned his back on him, then he would not be able to eat the consequences. At the same time this guy was also afraid that he would complain. In fact, even if Ma-ong did not give him the gold coins, Ning Qing would not have done such a thing. In a place thousands of miles away from the Yaluan city, there is a mountain called the Abandoned Spiritual Mountain. The place I want to go to, is the Abandoned Spiritual Mountain. Because there is something on the Abandoned Spiritual Mountain, it is incomparably hard, and is not even half a bit weaker than the aquatic essence tendons. So I need your help. If you can succeed, then I will report to the city master, and grant you the title of a third-grade aristocrat, and reward you with 1,000,000 gold coins. When the man spoke, his eyes were staring at Ning Qing. We are willing to go. Contrary to Ning Qing's expectations, Yin Kong-chan took the initiative to help Ning Qing for the first time. Ning Qing and Yin Kong-chan were not acquainted for the first time, as such he knew that this woman would not speak without thinking. Since she said that she wanted to go, then there must be a reason for it. Being able to serve the prince, I am certainly very happy. But I do not know when we will be leaving, so that I can prepare for it. Ning Qing immediately replied. The man on the one-horned beast once again deeply stared at Su Ying-dae and Yin Kong-chan, before he slowly spoke. The place inside the abandoned spiritual mountain is very difficult to find. You go, and prepare for it. We will be leaving in 3 days. Yin Kong-chan, why did you agree to go to the abandoned spiritual mountain? After returning to his residence, Ning Qing immediately asked. Yin Kong-chan spoke in a low voice. I have inquired about it from the outside, and found that people often find ways to leave the forsaken land. Moreover, there is only one place to leave, and that is the abandoned spiritual mountain. On the abandoned spiritual mountain, there is a door called the Awakening Spiritual Gate. Although the words abandon and awaken have the same pronunciation, but they do not have the same meaning. You mean we can go out from the Awakening Spiritual Gate? Ning Qing quickly asked. Yin Kong-chan gave an N sound. That's right, but the Awakening Spiritual Gate is very difficult to find, moreover its location often changes. However, no matter how it changes, it would always be inside the abandoned spiritual mountain. Moreover, I heard that it is extremely difficult to open the Awakening Spiritual Gate. Once, someone, in order to open the Awakening Spiritual Gate, brought an entire city's army with him, but as a result, the soldiers of the army were completely sacrificed, yet the Awakening Spiritual Gate still did not open. By the time he tried to think of another way, the awakening spiritual gate had already changed its location. How do you know so much about it? Ning Cheng looked at Yin Kongchan in doubt. It stood to reason that these secrets were not something that a civilian could know, not to mention Yin Kongchan who had just arrived here. Su Yingde suddenly spoke up from the side. There is a person in the makeshift market who comes to our booth every day to buy embroidery, and each time he would talk to her for half a day. She had heard about it from that person's mouth. It seems that that person's background is not simple, moreover he seems to care a lot about Yin Kongchan. I guess that he has fallen in love with her. Yin Kongchan sighed. Su Yingde, even if you fell in love with Ning Cheng, your intelligence should not have dropped to such a degree. How could I fall in love with a person here? Even if I can't get out, I can still marry Ning Cheng. In this place it is not like a person can only marry one person. Ning Cheng waved his hand, stopping the two people from talking, and continued to ask, Yin Kongchan, is there any other news? Yin Kongchan also did not continue to pay attention to Su Yingde, and turned to Ning Cheng and spoke, I suspect that the prince wants you to participate, in order to help him open the awakening spiritual door, and get out of this forsaken land. The awakening spiritual door is very difficult to find, in this place where there is no spiritual consciousness. If you want to find the awakening spiritual door in the abandoned spiritual mountain, then it would definitely take a lot of effort. Because of this, after the prince found the awakening spiritual door, I said that I must go. Otherwise, if we were to rely on ourselves, we would definitely not be able to find it in a short period of time. I know, you can use these silver notes to buy some things. I also want to continue cultivating. Ning Cheng put the silver notes on the table, and once again entered the house. As long as he could extend his spiritual consciousness a bit more, he would be able to open the ring. Once he opened the ring, then with the combination of pills and spirit stones, he would be able to directly blow away the power that was imprisoning his sea of consciousness and core lake. With 10,000 gold coins, Yin Kongchan and Su Yingde obviously did not need to continue with their booth. The two of them tacitly took 5 pieces each, and went to buy their own things. Feeling that the two of them had left the house, Ning Cheng finally felt relieved in his heart. Just when he was about to attack his Zifu with all his strength, the door to the room unexpectedly opened again. What's the matter? Ning Cheng looked at Yin Kongchan with a puzzled expression. Under normal circumstances, Yin Kongchan would rarely take the initiative to come to his room. Yin Kongchan sat down opposite to Ning Cheng, and hesitated for a while before speaking. Ning Cheng, you have saved me several times. I feel that if we go to the abandoned spiritual mountain this time, we would be able to reap some harvest. So there are some things that I want to tell you, whether you believe it or not, I want to tell you. Ning Cheng nodded and spoke, you can speak. If we can go out this time, then when we meet again, maybe we would not be able to sit together and talk so calmly. You are a very friendly person. If I must find a Tao companion, then maybe I will choose you. Ning Cheng waved his hand to interrupt Yin Kongchan's words. I already have a fiancé. As such there is no need to speak about Tao companions. It doesn't matter if you want to talk about it with that prince, but don't talk about it in front of me. I don't like hypocritical people. Yin Kongchan spoke, then I will tell you the truth, you have to be careful of Su Yingde. She might have fallen in love with you, but it is definitely not from her heart, it is because of her cultivation method. I know too much about the severing emotions Tao sect. They sever their emotions without any sense of righteousness. Seeing Ning Cheng remain silent, Yin Kongchan once again spoke, to know whether she truly loves you or not is very simple, you just have to choose a time, and truly dual cultivate with her once, then you will know. The women of the severing emotions Tao sect, once they truly dual cultivate with a person, they would no longer be able to sever their emotions. For them to sever their emotions, it is when you urgently want to dual cultivate with her, or when your love for her is at its deepest. Because of this, they would never really do such a thing between a man and a woman. Once they do it, they would not be able to sever their emotions. As for when Yin Kongchan left, Ning Cheng was not even aware of it. A scene emerged in his mind. The instant Su Yingde's white hair turned white, it made his heart throb, it even gave him a chill. Su Yingde did not hesitate to replace him with a knife. It let him feel the kind of decisiveness that Su Yingde had paid for him. When he cultivated the embracing young god tactic, Yin Kongchan was hesitant, but Su Yingde did not hesitate to help him. But these were not the factors that made him have a good impression on Su Yingde. What he felt in his heart was gratitude, but Su Yingde did not hesitate to help him. But what really tugged at his heartstrings was the scene of Su Yingde in the makeshift market, her body covered in blood, as she was beaten to the ground, while holding a few pieces of embroidery in her hands. In this scene, he saw himself struggling to survive, and saw the most ordinary Su Yingde who was closest to him. This kind of Su Yingde made him feel a trace of reality. It was completely different from the Su Yingde who had blocked a knife for him, and was even willing to burn her life for him. At that moment, it was such an ordinary, real flesh and blood body, that panic-stricken expression. It was absolutely not something that could be faked. Ning Qing gave out a sigh, and was no longer in the mood to cultivate. Regardless of whether Su Yingde was real or not, after going out, he would have to stay far away from this place. He did not like this kind of truth and falsehood. Chapter 319. When Ning Qing dreamt of Ji Luofei, he immediately felt a soft body sticking to him. Luofei. Ning Qing called out in a trembling voice, as he subconsciously embraced that soft body. A slight, sound rang out, which made Ning Qing feel that something was wrong. This was not a dream at all, this was really a soft body that he was embracing. He immediately opened his eyes, as a faint fragrance wafted over. At this time, the sky was already bright, and he could clearly see Su Yingde's beautiful face. At this time, Su Yingde's face was rosy like a rouge, her eyes were tightly closed, and she simply did not dare to look at Ning Qing. Ning Cheng's hand subconsciously moved a bit. Su Yingde's back was incomparably smooth, just like congealed fat. His hand easily slid over Su Yingde's back in an arc, and fell on a soft spot. There was only a thin belt tied around her back, that is to say, other than a small piece of underwear, there was not even an inch of clothing on her body. Take me. Su Yingde's voice seemed to have come from the horizon. It was very light and thin, but Ning Cheng was able to hear it clearly. Ning Cheng had been cultivating in the small spiritual domain, as such his body had a trace of yang qi poison that had not been removed. Coupled with the recent cultivation of the embracing young god tactic, his blood and qi were incomparably exuberant. The reason why he was able to restrain himself from going out to look for a woman was entirely because of his self-discipline. Now that Su Yingde, who had stripped herself down to only her underwear, was hugging him like this, and even spoke in such an emotional manner, how could he bear it? Su Yingde immediately felt Ning Cheng's reaction, as she closed her eyes and subconsciously hugged Ning Cheng even tighter. Her whole body stuck to him, while her hands were restlessly grabbing at Ning Cheng's back. Ning Cheng did not have even half a shred of experience, but this kind of thing, he did not need any experience at all. He raised his hand and pulled off Su Yingde's underwear. Su Yingde gave a whimper, as her soft lips took the initiative to cater to his. Bang! Ning Cheng's door was once again opened. Ning Cheng suddenly sobered up from his lust. Su Yingde also sat up in a panic, as she tried to cover her chest with a thin quilt. But that dazzling white color could not be covered at all. You! Yin Kongchan looked at Ning Cheng and Su Yingde, who were sleeping together without any clothes on their upper bodies, as she spoke out those two words in shock, before she hurriedly blushed and spoke. Why don't you wait for a while? I have something urgent to say. She usually didn't care about these things, but when she saw it with her own eyes, it was a completely different matter. Ning Cheng gave out a sigh. He was even somewhat glad that Yin Kongchan had suddenly interrupted them. Otherwise, once this kind of thing happened, with his character, he really would not know how to treat Su Yingde. Would Su Yingde allow Ji Luofei to exist? That was absolutely impossible. I'll go out first, you can put on your clothes and come out later. Ning Cheng spoke as he quickly put on his clothes, while simultaneously closing the door behind him. The blush on Yin Kongchan's face had already subsided. As she saw Ning Cheng close the door, she suddenly asked in a low voice, Ning Cheng, did you and Su Yingde already do that? Is she really willing to give herself to you? Yin Kongchan's tone seemed to contain some disbelief, but the fact was that she had seen it with her own eyes. Ning Qing interrupted Su Yingdai's words, I haven't done it yet, what do you want? Haven't done it yet? I saw the two of you hugging and kissing each other, in just one night, wouldn't it be enough for you to do it many times? Yin Kongchan seemed to have forgotten that she had come looking for Ning Qing for an urgent matter. Ning Qing silently looked at Yin Kongchan, kissing. The two of us also kissed, did we do it together? Yin Kongchan's eyes flashed with a trace of anger, Ning Qing, when did I kiss you? Ning Qing lightly spoke, don't say that you haven't used my toothbrush, you and Su Yingdai often use my toothbrush, do you think that I don't know about it? That is, indirect kissing. When one had magical power, the impurities in one's body would automatically be removed, even the clear water technique and the dirt removal technique would not be needed. However, once they lost their power, Yin Kongchan and Su Yingdai would turn into ordinary people. For ordinary people to eat grains, it was normal for them to rinse their mouths every day. But what could be better than Ning Cheng's toothbrush to rinse their mouths? Therefore, the two of them had been secretly using it, but Ning Cheng pretended not to know about it. Yin Kongchan's face immediately turned red, she did not think that Ning Cheng would know about this matter. According to this statement, she really had kissed Ning Cheng. Thinking of this, she quickly changed the topic and spoke, that Princess Man has come back, she specifically asked you to go to her residence, I am afraid that she will do something bad to you, so you have to think of a way. Her guards are already waiting outside the courtyard, if not for you and the prince having some relationship, they would have directly broken into the house. Ning Qing sneered, if they really break in, then I will go on a killing spree, even if it is the city master's mansion, I will still go and destroy it. Yin Kongchan on hearing Ning Cheng's words, instead lowered her head, and did not dare to speak again. She had also broken in a moment ago, and even saw the most perverted scene. Ning Qing did not seem to have any intention to kill her. Seeing Yin Kongchan lower her head, Ning Qing also knew what she was thinking, and immediately spoke, you too, the next time you look for me, you must at least knock on the door, this is the most basic courtesy. I know. Yin Kongchan spoke with a sigh of relief. Yin Kongchan, you said that Princess Man wanted to call Ning Qing over. Why? Su Yingdai's trembling voice came over, she had just woken up with a lazy expression, coupled with some panic in her eyes, this kind of indescribable demeanor, even if Yin Kongchan saw it, she would still feel incomparably amazed. No wonder Ning Cheng was so fascinated by her. Ning Cheng looked at Yin Kongchan and asked, why do you think? Yin Kongchan bit her lips and spoke, I don't think it's because of you. Seeing Ning Cheng and Su Yingdai looking at her in doubt, Yin Kongchan directly spoke, if I did not guess wrong, then you will stay in the city master's mansion for a few days, and then directly leave the city master's mansion for the abandoned spiritual mountain. The Yaluan city has a huge flying bird, which can carry people, and is much faster than a beast carriage. What you mean is, once I leave the city master's mansion, someone will come and take you away? Ning Qing asked. Yin Kongchan shook her head, no, it should be said that once you leave this place, someone will come and take the two of us away, moreover they will use the reason that you asked us to come with you. Ning Qing showed a faint smile, it looks like that prince is quite infatuated. Yin Kongchan gave a sneer, but did not speak. Ning Qing stood up and spoke, did you run out of gold coins? It's all used up, and I did not manage to buy many spiritual grasses. Although there are many good things here, but the price is too high. Su Yingdai replied. You go and tell the errand boy outside that I am not feeling well, and want to rest for 2 days. Let him come back after 2 days, he certainly would not dare to disagree. Ning Qing said to Yin Kongchan, before he went back to the house and began to attack his sea of consciousness. He did not want to go to the city master's mansion helplessly, even if he wanted to go, he would at least have the strength to protect himself. Yin Kongchan glanced at Su Yingdai, and after going out for a while, she quickly came back. She did not think that what Ning Qing said was right, when the errand boy heard that Ning Qing wanted to rest for 2 days, he immediately left, and did not even say half a word. If she had known that it would be so simple, she really would not have bothered Ning Qing and Su Yingdai. Are you jealous of me? Suing Dae on seeing In Kong-chan come in, immediately asked. In Kong-chan frowned. Why would I be jealous of you? Since you are not jealous of me, then why did you go in at the most critical time? If you had not gone in, at this time I would have already become Big Brother Ning's wife. Suing Dae's tone was very cold. In Kong-chan spoke with disdain. Already become Big Brother Ning's wife? You can also take off your clothes and go in, this kind of thing is something you are good at. But I find it strange, aren't you going to fall in love? Falling in love is not the same as you. If I had known that you would even offer your pure in to Ning Cheng, I would have definitely waited a little longer before going in. Suing Dae stared at In Kong-chan for a while, but did not answer In Kong-chan's words, as she turned around and entered her room, while simultaneously closing the door behind her. In Kong-chan frowned, she was very puzzled. Suing Dae would never give up her body. Could it be that she had already forgotten the purpose of the Severing Emotions Tao sect? But with her appearance, if she had not opened the door and interrupted the two of them, then the two of them would have already entered into dual cultivation. In Kong-chan thought about it for a long time, but could not come up with a reason. She could only shake her head and return to her room. After Ning Cheng returned to his room, he simply locked the room, and continued to attack his sea of consciousness. After his spiritual consciousness had extended to 3 meters, his sea of consciousness had already loosened up, coupled with Ning Cheng's repeated attacks. After a whole day, he once again felt the mysterious yellow bead. When Ning Cheng sensed the mysterious yellow bead, it immediately shook violently. The formidable mysterious yellow origin aura directly rushed out, and the layers of invisible shackles, under the impact of the mysterious yellow origin aura, immediately dissipated like a chicken or a dog. The shackles around his sea of consciousness were immediately dispersed by the mysterious yellow bead's origin aura, allowing Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness to immediately recover completely. His powerful spiritual consciousness revolved a little, and the invisible shackles around his core lake also dissipated at this moment. With his true essence and spiritual consciousness restored at the same time, a long-lost feeling of power welled up within him, causing Ning Cheng to almost stand up and let out a long roar. Originally, he had intended that as long as his spiritual consciousness was a little stronger, he would be able to open his ring, and then restore his true essence through the pills in his ring. He did not expect that after he sensed the mysterious yellow bead, those invisible shackles in front of the mysterious yellow bead would just be like floating clouds. The mysterious yellow bead really was an extraordinary thing. If his cultivation was a little higher, then the Forsaken Land would simply not be able to imprison him. On the contrary, if he did not have the mysterious yellow bead, then even if he was injured, he would not be able to unlock the shackles. Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness swept out, and saw Suing Dae sitting in the room, seemingly in a daze. But In Kong-chan had already taken off all her clothes, and Ning Cheng was able to see a looming spiritual qi radiating from her waist. Did this woman also have a hidden magical weapon on her waist? Ning Cheng did not have time to continue observing, when In Kong-chan suddenly covered her chest and lower abdomen with her hands, as she cautiously looked around. Knowing that In Kong-chan might have noticed that someone was peeping at her, Ning Cheng quickly withdrew his spiritual consciousness, and quietly left the room. Before leaving the Forsaken Land, he wanted to go to the white-robed ghost lake to have a look. What exactly was that white-robed ghost carrying a long spear on its back, and also whether that purple long spear was still in the lake. Chapter 320. With his cultivation restored, Ning Cheng's profound core 8th level strength was almost equivalent to that of a late-stage soul essence cultivator. Originally it took him half a month to complete the journey, but now it only took him less than the time it takes for half an incense stick to burn. At the edge of the white-robed ghost lake, there were many messy footsteps. There was even a broken beast carriage. Ning Cheng could tell with a glance that after he left, a lot of people had come to this place. It was obvious that the matter of Ma Ong making a fortune in the white-robed ghost lake was already known to many people. Ning Cheng swept out with his spiritual consciousness, and found that the lake was still filled with aquatic essence tendons, but he did not find anything unusual. At this moment the moonlight was not bright, and Ning Cheng also did not find any white-robed men walking around the lake. Ning Qing jumped into the lake, and the lake water automatically parted on both sides. This lake was not very deep, and with Ning Cheng's current cultivation, it was not impossible for him to directly split the lake in the middle. There were many corpses at the bottom of the lake, some of them apparently had died not long ago. Ning Qing came to the place where he had found the rusty spear, and at this time he could clearly see it with his spiritual consciousness, but still did not find anything unusual. Just when Ning Qing was about to leave, a horrifying scene suddenly appeared in the range of his spiritual consciousness. A huge blue eye appeared at the bottom of the lake. Ning Qing repeatedly checked it with his spiritual consciousness, and was convinced that it was an eye. Moreover, there was only one eye, and this eye was lying at the bottom of the lake, staring at him, with a dark dagger stuck in the eyeball. A dagger nailed to the eye at the bottom of the lake. This scene was just too frightening. It was as if a portrait with only a single eye was laid flat on the bottom of the lake, and then a dagger was stuck in the portrait. But Ning Qing knew that this was definitely not a portrait. Ning Qing stared at the eye for just a moment, before he felt a burst of dizziness. When he looked again, the eye had unexpectedly disappeared. A voice appeared in his mind, and he quickly pulled out the dagger, but the mysterious yellow bead in his zifu quickly washed away these distracting thoughts. He was a profound core 8th level cultivator. How could he feel dizzy? This was definitely not an ordinary place. Ning Qing, who originally wanted to pull out the dagger, changed his mind. The next moment, Ning Qing rushed out of the white-robed ghost lake. Even if the dagger was good, he did not want it. His strength was still too low. This white-robed ghost lake was a bit strange. After Ning Qing returned to his residence, he was still thinking about this matter. He felt that those eyes were somewhat familiar to him. It was as if he had seen them somewhere before. Moreover, even that dizziness was somewhat familiar. I understand. After thinking about it clearly, Ning Qing muttered to himself in shock. He finally understood why those eyes gave him such a familiar feeling. More than a month ago, when he had just entered the Yaluan city, he had taken a look at Princess Man. Princess Man had a cyan-colored crystal dot on her forehead. At that time, when he saw that cyan-colored crystal dot, he also felt a burst of dizziness. Wasn't the shape of the cyan crystal a little like an eye? After understanding this, Ning Qing immediately guessed that Princess Man had a connection with the white-robed ghost lake. Perhaps even Princess Man herself was not aware of this connection, but at the moment, it would be better for him to not provoke her. Fortunately, he had recovered his cultivation. Otherwise, this place would have been torturous. Ning Qing shook his head and put aside the matter of the white-robed ghost lake, before reaching out and taking out the rusty spear. His divine sense swept into the long spear, but it was like mud falling into the sea. There was no reaction. Ning Qing began to refine the long spear, but even after a full hour, the long spear still did not show even half a shred of reaction. With his current cultivation, he could not even refine it. Since he could not refine this long spear, then there were only two possibilities. First, this long spear was not a magical weapon, but rather a high-level material that Ning Qing had never seen before. If it was not a magical weapon, then of course he would not be able to refine it. Of course, there was another possibility, that was the grade of this long spear was too high, causing Ning Qing to have no way to refine it. Thinking of this, Ning Qing took out a high-grade spiritual artifact long blade from his ring, and began to scrape off the rust on the long spear. As the sky turned bright, Ning Qing finally scraped off all the rust on the long spear in his hands. A dark iron rod appeared in his hands. Ning Qing was almost convinced that the long spear in his hands was not a high-level magical weapon, but rather an iron rod made from an unknown material. It was just that the front of the iron rod was shaped like a spear, which made him think that it was a long spear. For the time being, I'll just use it as a spear. Ning Qing was a little disappointed in his heart. What he lacked the most right now was a real high-level offensive magical weapon. The cosmic true devil axe had not yet taken shape, as such he could not use it as a magical weapon. The profound break spear was already cracked. Moreover, as a medium-grade spiritual artifact, it was not enough for Ning Qing to rely on. Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness swept out, and he saw that Su Yingde and Yin Kongchan were already sitting outside. He immediately opened the door and came out, while at the same time speaking, "Let's go, we will now go to the princess mansion. Perhaps we will never come back here again." Taking Su Yingde and Yin Kongchan away, could also be considered as doing the two of them a favor. Otherwise, if he went to the princess mansion alone, Yin Kongchan and Su Yingde would not be long before they appeared in the Yaluan city's prince's mansion. "Has your spiritual consciousness recovered?" Yin Kongchan looked at Ning Cheng and asked. Ning Cheng casually spoke, "I can barely protect myself, that embracing young god tactic really is a good thing." But in his heart he was despising it, that bullshit embracing young god tactic. In the end he still had to rely on his big brother's mysterious yellow bead. Hearing that Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness had recovered a bit, Su Yingde immediately stood up in surprise, while simultaneously giving out a long sigh. Although she did not speak, her expression clearly showed what she was thinking. "Ah!" Yin Kongchan first gave out a pleasantly surprised cry, but then her face turned a little strange. The next moment she bit her lips and did not speak. When Ning Cheng saw Yin Kongchan's expression, he immediately knew what the reason was. Yin Kongchan's body was indescribably sensitive. Last night his spiritual consciousness had only swept past her. In the case where she did not have any cultivation, she was unexpectedly able to perceive it with just her sixth sense. She knew that he had recovered a part of his spiritual consciousness, and would definitely understand that he was the one who had done it last night. Ning Cheng coughed and spoke, "No need to delay, let's go now." Seeing Ning Cheng walk out, Su Yingde and Yin Kongchan glanced at each other, before they also followed. Ning Cheng had just arrived at the entrance of Princess Man's mansion, when Princess Man already received the news. "Take him to Imperial Brother, just say that Imperial Brother is looking for him for something." Princess Man, who was practicing her swords in the garden, spoke to the guard who came to report in a very impatient manner. "Yes." The guard quickly responded, but hesitated and did not leave. "What's the matter?" Princess Man frowned. The guard did not dare to look up, but still bowed and reported that Ning Cheng did not come alone, his women also came with him. "Huh?" Princess Man exclaimed in surprise. Did this fellow know that Imperial Brother was planning to take away his two women? Did he simply bring his women with him? "You go and bring him here, and also pass the news to Imperial Brother." Princess Man placed the short sword in her hand on the wooden table next to her, before sitting down at the table. After the guard went out, she sneered and spoke, "Even if you brought your women here, so what?" Ning Cheng, along with Yin Kongchan and Su Yingde, followed the guard to Princess Man's garden. One had to say that as the princess of Yaluan City, the garden owned by her was really big. Not only was it big, but the fragrance of the flowers was also very enticing. It also had a variety of facilities for rest, exercise, and pleasure. "I heard that the princess was looking for me, so I specifically came here." Ning Cheng walked to a bench and sat down, while looking at Princess Man and spoke in an unhurried manner. Yin Kongchan and Su Yingde sat down on either side of Ning Cheng, but did not speak much. Princess Man's face turned red with anger at Ning Cheng's arrogant attitude, while blue veins popped out on her hands. Not only did Ning Cheng not kowtow to ask for forgiveness, but he even stared at her. This was simply too much. "Your courage is not small, good, good." Princess Man was so angry that her words were incoherent. Ning Cheng simply did not put Princess Man's words in his eyes. He deliberately stared at the crystal point on Princess Man's forehead for a long time. Sure enough, he found the same aura as the eye from the white-robed ghost lake on that crystal point. However, the crystal point on Princess Man's forehead now had almost no effect on him. When he did not have any cultivation, just a glance at it would cause him to feel dizzy, but now, even if he stared at it, it would not affect him at all. At this time, Ning Cheng was already speculating whether Princess Man was the one who had tried to seize the body of the eye from the white-robed ghost lake. The eye at the bottom of the white-robed ghost lake gave Ning Cheng a horrifying feeling, but it also made Ning Cheng feel a kind of dread from the bottom of his heart. Ning Cheng decided not to provoke that eye for the time being. However, since Princess Man had stabbed him twice, he definitely had to get it back. I'm very timid. Last time, because of your order, I still have scars on the place where I stabbed myself. Ning Qing slowly spoke. Princess Man suddenly grabbed the dagger on the table and coldly stared at Ning Qing. Dig out your own eyes. Saying that, she once again stared at Su Yingde with an ice-cold gaze. You were the one who pleaded for leniency for him last time. You cut off your tongue, then strip off all your clothes, and let someone lead you to the streets of the Yaluan city. Princess Man casually threw the dagger towards Ning Qing. At this time, more than a dozen guards quickly ran over and surrounded the Ning Qing trio. However, when the dagger fell to the ground, it suddenly bounced back with a ding-dang sound. Then the dagger bounced back like an extremely elastic ball, directly piercing through Princess Man's left shoulder. Princess Man panicked and quickly pulled out the dagger. However, she did not seem to be able to hold the dagger tightly, as it once again fell to the ground. Then with another bounce, this time the dagger once again pierced through her right shoulder. Princess Man screamed, as she hurriedly pulled out the dagger. This time, she held it tightly, causing the dagger to not fall to the ground again. However, her hand involuntarily moved, causing the dagger to once again pierce through her left shoulder. Moreover, the position it had pierced through was different from the first time. Ghost! Princess Man's sharp scream could almost be heard throughout the entire Yaluan city. However, her hand involuntarily lifted the dagger and stabbed it towards her own eyes. Bang! A dim light erupted from the crystal point on Princess Man's forehead. The dagger that she had used to stab her eyes was immediately struck by this light, causing it to instantly fall to the ground. Chapter 321. Ning Cheng's eyes narrowed, and did not continue. This forsaken land was a bit strange. The one who blocked Princess Man from stabbing her eyes was definitely not Princess Man herself. Little man, what's wrong with you? A panicked voice arrived, followed by a middle-aged man rushing in like a shadow. This middle-aged man was extremely fast, but Ning Qing could still see him clearly with his spiritual consciousness. This person was an expert, and should be a pure martial artist. Looking at his appearance, it was somewhat similar to the Prince and Princess Man. Presumably this person was the city master. This middle-aged man rushed to Princess Man's side, and raised his hand to poke Princess Man a few times. Princess Man's wound instantly stopped bleeding. He then took out a small bottle from his belt, and poured some medicinal powder on Princess Man's wound. A few maids reacted at this time, and quickly came forward to help Princess Man bandage her wound. Ning Qing could clearly see from the side that this city master really had a few tricks up his sleeves. His method of stopping the bleeding was very powerful, and even the medicinal powder seemed to be a top-grade medicinal powder. Father, this person wanted to assassinate me. Princess Man also sobered up, and immediately pointed at Ning Qing while crying. Compared to the time when she was outside the Yaluan city, when she was riding her unicorn, it was a complete contrast. Ning Qing snickered in his heart. A city master also called him father. However, since the prince and the princess had already come out, then another king would not be a big deal. Little sister, are you all right? Only at this time did the prince rush in. This city master also did not have the time to observe the Ning Qing trio until now. When he saw Ning Qing sitting there with a calm face without moving, he frowned slightly, and then asked in a very gentle voice, "You should be a guest invited by little man, right? Why did you attack little man?" Ning Qing showed a faint smile. "You should be the city master, right? You can eat indiscriminately, but you cannot speak indiscriminately. There are so many people here who saw it. You can ask clearly if it was me who did it. Then you can make a decision, otherwise I will get angry." The middle-aged man increasingly felt that something was wrong, whether it was the person in front of him or not, but this calm attitude, and the tone he used to speak to the city master, made him feel that something was not right. His eyes swept over the dozen panicked guards, and asked in a deep voice, "What happened just now?" The guard in the lead quickly stepped forward and spoke about how the short sword had bounced up for no reason. He then told them about Princess Man's repeated stabs. After hearing the guard's words, the middle-aged man suddenly smiled and waved at the guard. Then he cupped his fists towards Ning Cheng and spoke, "I was too reckless a moment ago. I am called Yi Zhonghuan, the city master of the Yaluan city. Since you are Xiao Man's guests, then you are also this Yi Zhonghuan's honorable guests." At this time, even Princess Man did not dare to speak any more nonsense. She even stared at Ning Cheng in panic. She was well aware of her father's ruthlessness. Just based on her complaint a moment ago, it didn't matter if she was injured by the Ningqing trio or not. The Ningqing trio would also be turned into minced meat, and then thrown out to feed the beasts. However, not only did his father not do so, but he even greeted them politely. Clearly, these three people were not simple. Thinking about how she was injured just now, it seemed a little strange. The prince, who had just arrived, was also staring at the Ningqing trio, completely unable to understand what was going on. Why would his royal father be so polite to Ningqing? He vaguely glanced at Yin Kongchan and Su Yingde, but did not dare to speak. "I am Ningqing. I am not your daughter's honorable guest. More than a month ago, your daughter rewarded me with 3 blades and 6 holes outside the Yaluan city, for which I am very grateful. Today, because your son took a fancy to my woman, he rewarded me to help him do things, and then took away my 2 women. You see, did I not come to your daughter's princess mansion to express my gratitude?" Ningqing calmly spoke. Yi Zhonghuan was shocked in his heart. His daughter's injuries had been wrapped by him, wasn't it 3 blades and 6 holes? He had come to collect his debt. Controlling a sword with his internal chi, at least he did not have the ability to do so. Moreover, this young man's internal chi cultivation was unexpectedly above his own. Not waiting for him to finish his thoughts, Ningqing suddenly stood up, while his entire body overflowed with murderous intent. Not good, he wanted to fall out with him. Yi Zhonghuan's experience was far more than his son's, so when he knew that Ningqing's cultivation might even be above his own, he decided not to clash with Ningqing for the time being. Since Ningqing had taken the initiative to look for trouble, how could he continue to watch? He did not even think about it, as he turned around and slapped the prince behind him twice. "You really have guts. My Yaluan city is a city governed by the law, yet you dare to test the law. Come, throw him into the death row." Slap slap, 2 crisp sounds emerged. Even if the prince's aura was fierce, under Yi Zhonghuan's 2 slaps, this guy's mouth still overflowed with blood, while 5 purplish-red finger marks were left on both sides of his face. The guards were so scared that they did not even dare to breathe. The city master doted on his children. It could be said that he had reached the extreme. Usually he would not even scold them, not to mention this kind of ruthless beating. How could Ningqing not know that although Yi Zhonghuan beat him fiercely, but the fact was that he did not use too much force. He waved his hand and spoke, "Wait for me to put him in jail, I still have something to ask him." "Prince, come here." Even his royal father was so cautious and polite towards Ningqing, as such the prince did not dare to say anything, as he carefully walked towards Ningqing. "I heard that you found the location of the awakening spiritual gate in the abandoned spiritual mountain. Let me have a look at the map." Ningqing casually spoke. The prince froze for a moment, but before he could answer, he heard Yi Zhonghuan's voice, "Hurry up and bring it." At this time, the prince did not dare to speak even half a word of nonsense, as he quickly took out a detailed map from his body and handed it to Ningqing. The map depicted the abandoned spiritual mountain, and also clearly marked the location of the awakening spiritual gate. Ningqing put away the detailed map, and once again asked, "How do I get to the abandoned spiritual mountain?" "Go get a map to the abandoned spiritual mountain for Brother Ning." Yi Zhonghuan waved his hand to a guard beside him. The guard was very fast, and in just a short time, he hurriedly ran over with a map, before handing it to Yi Zhonghuan with both hands. Yi Zhonghuan smiled and handed the map to Ningqing. Ningqing took the map and looked at Yi Zhonghuan with a smile. "City Master Yi, you really are not simple. No wonder the Yaluan city is so prosperous. Before I left, I helped City Master Yi with his divination. You should stay still and not move, City Master Yi, please take care of yourself." Saying that, Ning Qing turned around and left the princess's garden, before disappearing into the distance with Yin Kongchan and Suing Dai. Royal Father. After Ning Qing left, Princess Man and the prince called out almost at the same time. Yi Zhonghuan had not yet spoken, when a guard came forward and reported, "Your Majesty, the 4 generals are already waiting outside." "I know, you can go back first." Yi Zhonghuan waved the guard away. "Royal Father, so you were already preparing for it." Princess Man and the prince immediately understood what was going on. Yi Zhonghuan sighed and spoke, "Little man, you should have guessed it, your injuries were definitely caused by that Ning Qing. You gave him 3 blades and 6 holes, and now he gave you 3 blades and 6 holes. Previously, I thought that this person's cultivation was above mine, so I tried to stabilize him, and then mobilized the army outside the city to kill him." Speaking until here, Yi Zhonghuan's eyes revealed extreme fear, but he finally asked where the abandoned spiritual mountain was, which made me completely afraid to make a move against him. "Why?" Princess Man's tone was filled with unwillingness, and even clenched her fists. Yi Zhonghuan spoke in a deep voice, "Among the people here, who doesn't know about the abandoned spiritual mountain? If I did not guess wrong, then this person must have come from the outside. When he first came in, he was affected by the laws here, so his cultivation was sealed, allowing little man to easily punish him with 3 blades and 6 holes. But now that he has at least recovered a part of his cultivation, and did not even use his hands or feet, it can be seen from the fact that he was able to injure little man. Wasn't it said that when people from the outside came in, all of their cultivation would be completely sealed?" The prince asked in shock. "This is the terrifying thing about this person, he is definitely not an ordinary person. To be able to unlock the seal on his cultivation in this place, how could he be simple? If he really came from the outside, then even if my Yaluan city's army completely surrounded him, it would only cause rivers of blood, and would not have any effect on him. Moreover, his last words were a warning to me. If I dared to send the army to intercept him, then it would be absolutely unimaginable." Yi Zhonghuan's tone became more and more severe as he spoke. Princess Man and the prince immediately broke out in cold sweat, especially Princess Man. She finally understood why the other party was so arrogant, and did not put her in his eyes at all. Then why did he spare us? Why did he spare my little sister? I once heard that people from the outside are extremely cruel and merciless, and would never put the lives of ordinary people in their eyes. Not to mention a massacre, even if they wanted to destroy a country, they would not even blink. The prince asked again. Yi Zhonghuan frowned and spoke, "I don't understand, I once heard that the cultivators from the outside are called cultivators. It stands to reason that once a cultivator comes in, it would never be so easy to talk to them. Should we send someone to give it a try first?" Princess Man still felt somewhat unwilling in her heart. Yi Zhonghuan spoke in a stern tone, "This matter cannot be mentioned again, whether he is a cultivator from the outside or not, it is already a blessing for us." Ning Cheng's trio came out of the Yaluan city's central gate, which shocked all the people who saw them. This was the entrance to the city master's mansion, yet 3 ordinary people dared to do such a thing. Some of the people who wanted to make a fortune had already gone to complain. "Did you say that last sentence deliberately?" After walking out of the city gate, Yin Kongchan glanced at Ning Cheng. She was very clear about the meaning of Ning Cheng's last sentence, that is, if Yi Zhonghuan really dared to bring the army to intercept him, then Ning Cheng would definitely kill him. As a cultivator from a major academy, Yin Kongchan really did not understand why Ning Cheng would let go of the Yaluan city's city master. Now that he had recovered his strength, it was more important for him to settle grudges quickly. Although the laws of the Yaluan city are a bit harsh, but compared to other places, it is still a lot better, so I am not willing to kill. Ning Cheng finished speaking and took out an airship-type magical weapon. "Let's go, once we reach the abandoned spiritual mountain, we can then leave this forsaken land." Chapter 322. Yin Kongchan glanced at the airship that Ning Cheng had brought out but did not speak. She was very clear that the flight-type magical weapon that she had left behind for Ning Cheng was not this airship. If this airship was not given to him by Su Yingde, then it meant that Ning Cheng had another storage-type magical weapon. At this moment, she really wanted to ask if Ning Cheng's geocentric 9-yin essence had truly been taken away by her. After Ning Cheng took out the airship, he immediately became aware of Yin Kongchan's gaze. He was a smart person and instantly understood Yin Kongchan's thoughts. However, he also did not care about it. Many cultivators would not only have one storage magic treasure, so it was not a strange thing for him to have two. He was sure that Yin Kongchan would not have the face to ask about the geocentric 9-yin essence. If Yin Kongchan really asked about it, then he would definitely not give it to her. If Yin Kongchan did not ask about it, then in the future if he obtained more of the geocentric 9-yin essence, then he might even give it to Yin Kongchan. The prerequisite was that he had to come out of the bottom of the Blood River Mountain. After Ning Cheng took control of the airship, Yin Kongchan and Su Yingde both knew that Ning Cheng had not only recovered, but he had also completely recovered. The three of them each had their own thoughts. For a moment, there was silence, and no one spoke. Even if Ning Cheng's speed was not fast, it could even be said to be slow. Following the map, he arrived at the abandoned spiritual mountain and quickly found the awakening spiritual gate. At this time, at a place far away from the awakening spiritual gate, there were dozens of soldiers hiding and guarding this place. As soon as Ning Cheng arrived, these people immediately surrounded him. Ning Cheng did not waste any time, as he stimulated his true essence and threw all the guards a few dozen feet away, before shouting, "There is nothing for you to do here, go back and tell Yi Zonghuan." This time he is tactful. "If you dare to allow the people of the City Lord's mansion to show off again, I will crush the City Lord's mansion into dust." Scram! In the face of such a powerful Ning Cheng, these guards did not dare to utter even half a word of nonsense, as they quickly got up, and in just a moment, not a single one of them remained. After all the guards escaped, Ning Cheng finally had the time to observe the awakening spiritual gate. The awakening spirit gate looked no different from an ordinary gate, but outside the awakening spirit gate, there was a kind of vine-like plant. These vine-like plants wrapped the entire door like the legs of an octopus. This vine-like plant wrapped the entire door, making it look like the legs of an octopus. This door was completely wrapped by these vines, making it look no different from an ordinary plant out. The door was completely wrapped in green vines and looked no different from an ordinary plant. Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness fell on this vine-like thing, but he had not yet started, when several green vines suddenly jumped out from the door and rolled towards Ning Cheng. Ning Cheng quickly took Su Yingde and Yin Kongchan and quickly retreated, narrowly avoiding the vines. Chan, Su out. This is a rank 6 demon plant. Even a profound core cultivator would not necessarily be its opponent. That prince is simply crazy, to actually let an ordinary person like you deal with this human-devouring rattan. Yin Kongchan spoke in a horrified voice. Tian, demon, Kan, to Chen. Tian, to say, out. Tian, out, to, Tian. Ha, found it. Awakening spirit gate has finally been found by me. A wild laughter sounded, and then two men rushed over. The lean man walking in front on seeing the Ning Cheng trio immediately shouted, "Fuck off, this is not a place for ants like you to come." Wait. The strong-looking man behind him looked straight at Yin Kongchan and Su Yingde, as he swallowed a mouthful of saliva and spoke, "Elder brother Wan, look at these two women." While speaking, he once again swallowed a mouthful of saliva and spoke, "So beautiful, if only." The lean man also stopped, as he looked at Su Yingde and Yin Kongchan in amazement. He also felt that these two women were inconceivably beautiful. However, he did not show the same pig-like appearance as the strong-looking man behind him, and spoke in a cold voice, "Chengji, the wife in your house is also not bad. I am wholeheartedly pursuing higher things. If you like these two women, then I suggest you take them home and live happily ever after. You are not suitable for what I am pursuing." The strong-looking man forcibly took back his gaze from the two women. "Elder brother Wan, since I am ready to rush out of this place, then I have already made up my mind. how can I not be firm in my confidence? Come on, let's go and open the spiritual gate together. This man seemed to want to prove his words, as he took the first step forward. The lean-looking man glanced at Ning Cheng, and sneered, if the two of us arrive at the awakening spirit gate, and the three of you have not left, then there is no need for you to leave. Saying that, he also rushed forward. The two of them had not yet reached the awakening spirit gate, when dozens of human-devouring rattans stretched out from the top of the awakening spirit gate, surrounding the two of them. However, the two of them did not panic, as they grabbed the long knives in their hands and chopped down. However, when their knives chopped down on the human-devouring rattans, it was as if they were chopping steel, as not even a trace appeared on it. Two pitiful screams erupted, as the human-devouring rattans instantly wrapped around the two of them, while simultaneously dragging them to the top of the awakening spirit gate. The Ningqing trio could clearly see that the two of them were gradually withering away, and finally, not to mention their clothes, even the steel knives that they were holding in their hands had completely disappeared. What a powerful human-devouring rattan! Ningqing spoke with a sigh. If his cultivation had not been restored, then even if he came here, he could only stare helplessly. This kind of human-devouring rattan, not to mention his tri-edged thorn, even if he had a spiritual artifact long knife, it would still be useless. Ningqing stepped forward, and directly brought out his true cosmic devil axe. Countless human-devouring rattans rolled out, locking the true cosmic devil axe in place. With a twist of the true cosmic devil axe, it broke free from these human-devouring rattans, while the true cosmic devil axe completely twisted apart these long vines. But what made Ningqing horrified was that after these human-devouring rattans were twisted apart, new vines quickly grew out. Moreover, these human-devouring rattans that were broken apart on the ground were still jumping, as if they could entangle a person at any time. What a powerful thing! Ningqing knew that this kind of thing, other than using fire to burn them all, even if he used a magical weapon to cut them apart, it would not have even half a shred of effect. Ningqing put away the true cosmic devil axe, and threw out several fireballs. The human-devouring rattans that Ningqing had cut apart on the ground quickly turned into flying ash under the fireballs, disappearing without a trace. However, the human-devouring rattans that were growing on the awakening spiritual door were not affected in the slightest. The fireballs at most caused the leaves of the human-devouring rattans to wither a little, but in an instant, these leaves once again returned to their original state. Ordinary fireballs cannot burn them. Yin Kongchan and Su Yingde suddenly became worried. Once Ningqing's fireballs could not burn these human-devouring rattans, then they would not be able to leave this place. Ningqing gave a snort, and took a few steps forward, and once again threw out dozens of fireballs, while at the same time forcibly stimulated the Star River in his Zifu. The Star River trembled slightly, and a scorching hot aura was sent by Ningqing to the human-devouring rattans on the awakening spiritual door. Boom! Just like dry firewood poured with oil, the flames on the human-devouring rattans instantly sprang up, and in just a few breaths of time, the flames completely disappeared. Moreover, the human-devouring rattans on the awakening spiritual door no longer existed. Ningqing was secretly shocked in his heart. He had never seen such a powerful flame. The Azure River had not yet sprouted. Once the Star River sprouted, just how terrifying would it be? Compared to his true fire, it was countless times stronger. Yin Kongchan and Su Yingde also looked at Ningqing. The flames just a moment ago were just too terrifying. Ningqing smiled. I had burned my true essence a moment ago. I did not think that it would really be useful. Now let me try. Saying that, Ningqing once again brought out his cosmic true devil axe. Not waiting for his axe to strike the huge stone door, the stone door unexpectedly automatically opened. Hey, the awakening spiritual door opened automatically. Ningqing was stunned for a moment, before he immediately spoke to Su Yingde, junior apprentice sister Yingde, you quickly come over. Su Yingde, on hearing Ningqing's words, quickly walked over to Ningqing's side. Yin Kongchan also silently walked over. Before, Ningqing's attitude towards her and Su Yingde was the same, but now Ningqing's attitude towards Su Yingde was obviously different from hers. Let's go in. Ning Qing grabbed Su Yingdai's hand, and took a step into the awakening spiritual door. Yin Kongchan also did not hesitate, and followed Ning Qing with a step. A burst of intense dizziness swept over them, causing the three people's thoughts to stagnate in an instant. Bang bang bang, the three people sobered up almost at the same time, as a strong spiritual chi swept over them, causing the three people to almost moan in comfort. We came out. Yin Kongchan could feel that her cultivation had completely recovered, causing her voice to tremble slightly. Only by losing something would one know how precious it was to have it. We really came out. Su Yingdai also spoke out in surprise, but her hand was still holding onto Ning Cheng's hand, and did not let go. What is this place? Ning Cheng looked at the desolate surroundings in doubt, as he did not know where he had been transferred to. Yin Kongchan glanced at Ning Cheng and Su Yingdai holding hands together and spoke, "This is the Tian continent, it is definitely not wrong. I do not know where this place is, but I have been here once before. Big brother Ning, I want to go to the Rainbow Fall Swords sect with you, and then. Su Yingdai tightly held onto Ning Cheng's hand, as she spoke in a shy voice. Ning Cheng suddenly sobered up, although he took care of Su Yingdai compared to Yin Kongchan, but Su Yingdai's expression clearly indicated that she wanted to talk to him about something important, something that he was not mentally prepared for. Thinking back to the time when Su Yingdai came to his bed in the early hours of the morning, Ning Cheng did not know what to say. At that time, he had almost taken Su Yingdai, the places that people could touch were all touched by him, how could he just wipe his mouth and forget about it? However, in the depths of his heart, Ji Luofei's position had never wavered. The feeling of being together with Ji Luofei and the feeling of being together with Su Yingdai were completely different. I'm leaving, thank you Ning Cheng. Yin Kongchan, who was looking at the two people in the distance, suddenly spoke up. Having said that, she had already taken out her shuttle. As the shuttle left, Ning Cheng once again received a sound transmission, "The secret of my body, please help me keep it, Kongchan thanks you." Chapter 323. Although Yin Kongchan left, Su Yingdai did not care about it. Instead, she turned around and faced Ning Cheng. Her eyes were blazing hot, as if she was asking Ning Cheng, "You haven't answered me yet." Ning Cheng was a bit taller than Su Yingdai, as such when he looked down he could see the faint snow-white hooks on Su Yingdai's neck. At this moment, his mind once again replayed the scene of Su Yingdai stripping naked. Ning Cheng's hand subconsciously tightened, just as Yin Kongchan had said, he was not a saint. Feeling that Ning Cheng's hand had slightly tightened, Su Yingdai once again let out a moan sound, as she threw herself onto Ning Cheng's chest, even squeezing her whole body into Ning Cheng's body. Ning Cheng's breathing quickened, as he tightly hugged Su Yingdai. Su Yingdai's incomparably soft body, coupled with that faint fragrance, made Ning Cheng feel hot. He could even sense that there was an aura of love within the fragrance. Su Yingdai also felt Ning Cheng's fiery hot body pressing against her lower abdomen, she certainly understood what it was. She did not close her eyes this time, but opened her eyes wide and looked at Ning Cheng. Ning Cheng could clearly see the watery charm in Su Yingdai's eyes, as well as the longing in her eyes. Su Yingdai's neck was suffused with this kind of seductive charm and turned into a light red color. This light red color coupled with her incomparably white skin made people tremble in fear. "Now you want me." Su Yingdai's fragrant breath blew onto Ning Cheng's face, giving off a deep and distant feeling. Ning Cheng could no longer hold back his own needs, people would always change, Su Yingdai was no longer the Su Yingdai from before. Ning Cheng did not speak, he picked up Su Yingdai, and the actions of his hands showed his thoughts. A white-robed woman, who seemed to be treading on clouds, was looking at Su Yingdai and Ning Cheng from a distant place. When she saw Ning Cheng passionately holding Su Yingdai in his arms, and even putting his hand into Su Yingdai's clothes, she gave out a slight sigh. No one understood Su Yingdai better than her, and no one understood the severing emotions Dao sect better than her. "Ning Cheng, I really like you, thank you for also liking me. Now, I have to go." Su Yingdai's voice was soft and sad. Ning Cheng was slightly surprised for a moment, but before he could even speak, a faintly discernible sharp sword had already passed through his core lake. The next moment his entire body felt as if it was being torn apart. At this moment, Ning Cheng knew that he had been plotted against by Su Yingde, but he clearly did not see Su Yingde use any kind of magical weapon, nor did he see Su Yingde use any kind of attack. Ning Cheng's hand loosened, allowing Su Yingde to fall to the ground. But Su Yingde stood firmly and did not fall, while Ning Cheng fell to the ground. At this time Ning Cheng could clearly feel the sharp sword that had pierced through his core lake. No, to be exact, it was a sharp sword that he could not even touch. He couldn't sense the shape, color, or any other information about the sword. The only thing he could feel was that his core lake had indeed been pierced by a sharp sword. At this moment, Ning Cheng did not get angry, he did not even ask why. The moment he was pierced by the sharp sword, Ning Cheng finally understood the relationship between desire and love. Because there was no love, he was not angry. Su Yingde had severed her emotions, what she had severed was her own emotions, it had nothing to do with him. He doubted Yin Kongchan's words. Yin Kongchan had said that as long as they entered into dual cultivation, she would not be able to successfully sever her emotions. But in the early hours of the morning, Su Yingde had clearly wanted to enter into dual cultivation with him, so why was Su Yingde still so ruthless? He started to think about whether Su Yingde and Yin Kongchan had joined forces to plot against him. If Yin Kongchan was really plotting against him, then her acting skills had already reached an unparalleled level. In the Severing Emotions Tao sect, I have been cultivating the Severing Emotions cultivation method since childhood. All the obsessions, impurities, emotions, desires, under the influence of the Severing Emotions cultivation method, they would all condense into a sword of severing emotions. The sword of severing emotions is silent, colorless, tasteless, formless, and intangible. When severing emotions, the sword of severing emotions would cut into the body of the lover, and the sword of severing emotions would slowly cut off everything about you. Su Yingde spoke slowly, her eyes were calm, but Ning Cheng could feel that she was completely different from before. If she still had some emotions before, then at this moment, there was only an aura of pursuing the great Tao circulating around her. I only hope that your love for me is not that deep, so that you would suffer less. You would not be in pain for 3,600 days, and then turn into a cripple. Ning Cheng still did not speak. When he was cut off by the sword of severing emotions, his entire body felt like it was about to tear apart, but the pain only lasted for a few breaths. At this time, apart from not having any strength, he no longer felt any pain. At this moment, Ning Cheng understood that Su Yingde was right about one thing: the less love, the less pain. He did not really love Su Yingde to the bone. To put it bluntly, he felt more apologetic towards Su Yingde, but also a kind of resonance. The impulse from before was because of a normal man's normal choice. Perhaps it was because of this that the tearing pain in his body quickly disappeared. Ning Cheng was secretly afraid in his heart. If Su Yingde really became his wife, then with his personality, he was afraid that he would never be able to forget this woman. Fortunately, Su Yingde was a bit impatient, and did not have the time to do it, before she decided to sever her emotions. Now as long as Su Yingde did not kill him, he was absolutely sure that he could melt away the sword of severing emotions, and at the same time restore his core lake. To put it bluntly, Su Yingde simply did not understand love. For a person who did not understand love, to use empty words to sever her emotions, the Severing Emotions Tao sect was truly ridiculous. Su Yingde once again looked at Ning Cheng and spoke, "Severing my emotions is not heartless, thank you for saving me. I know that you will also suffer in the future, so I might as well give you a quick death." Ning Cheng secretly cried out in his heart. When a faintly discernible flame wrapped around him, the terrifying flame made it so that he could not even shout out. Glancing at Ning Cheng, who was surrounded by the faintly discernible flame, Su Yingde slowly walked to a distance, waved her hand and scattered out countless array flags, while at the same time sprinkling out countless spirit stones. A pill fell into her mouth, and the next moment her imposing aura skyrocketed. Even the sky began to turn dark. only the people from the Severing Emotions Tao sect knew that Su Yingde was about to advance to the soul-sculpting realm. The people from the Severing Emotions Tao sect, after severing their emotions, would immediately advance. This was also a consistent method of the Severing Emotions Tao sect. Moreover, the most suitable stage to sever one's emotions was before the soul essence realm, or before the soul sculpting realm to sever one's emotions. Boom boom boom. The first wave of thunder resounded in the distance. Su Yingde's complexion was calm and tranquil. She had already forgotten about Ning Cheng, who was countless miles away. After she advanced to the soul sculpting realm, she would no longer have Ning Cheng in her heart. The terrifying flame trapped Ning Cheng, not to mention that Ning Cheng was unable to stimulate the celestial river at this moment. Even if he could stimulate the celestial river, he would not be able to extinguish these flames. These flames were completely different from ordinary flames, as such he did not know what kind of flames they were. Under this kind of fire, the desperate need for a woman almost burned him from the inside out. Regardless of whether Su Yingde was vicious or not, Ning Cheng did not have the mind to care about it at this moment. He could not even control himself at this moment. Burning flames of lust. The white-robed woman who had been watching from a distance landed in front of Ning Cheng, as she spoke out a single sentence. Then she looked up at Su Yingde, who was crossing her tribulation in the distance, before giving out a sigh and speaking. Not only did she sever her emotions, but she also severed the burning flames of lust. Saying that, she looked down at Ning Cheng, who was struggling with the burning flames of lust, shook her head, and unexpectedly reached out with her hands to pick up Ning Cheng. The burning flames of lust on Ning Cheng's body did not have even the slightest effect on her body. The white-robed woman turned around and took a step forward, before disappearing without a trace in a twinkling of an eye. No one could eliminate the burning flames of lust. Even if it was the white-robed woman who rescued Ning Cheng, she would not be able to eliminate the burning flames on Ning Cheng's body. The only thing she could do was to give Ning Cheng a few spiritual ice pills. The spiritual ice pills turned into a trace of coldness, allowing Ning Cheng to sober up for a short moment, allowing him to feel that he was being taken away by someone. Ning Cheng forcibly revolved his true essence, wanting to dissolve the burning flames of lust and the sword of severing emotions, but no matter how hard he tried, the burning flames of lust only grew stronger and stronger. He vaguely saw a woman sitting in front of him. If he had the strength at this moment, he would have thrown himself at this woman. However, Ning Cheng knew that even if he wanted to, he would not do such a thing. This woman had saved him. Even if he was burned to death by the burning flames of lust, he would not do such a thing. He had his own pride and bottom line. As the effects of the spiritual ice pills gradually faded, Ning Cheng once again began to feel confused, while his mouth turned dry. Any kind of cultivation method was being operated by him indiscriminately, regardless of whether it was useful or not. Suddenly Ning Cheng felt that the faint flames in his body had been contained, and at this time another spiritual ice pill fell into his mouth. Ning Cheng's consciousness once again sobered up, and he immediately understood what was going on. Just now, when he had operated the embracing young god tactic, the burning flames of lust had unexpectedly been contained. Not only was it contained, but it had also turned into a force that impacted his corporeal body, allowing his corporeal body to grow stronger. Ning Cheng suddenly came to understand, the embracing young god tactic was not a cultivation method, but turned out to be a body-forging cultivation method. Any kind of torment to the corporeal body, under the influence of the embracing young god tactic, could be transformed into an impact force that could condense the corporeal body. After understanding this point, Ning Cheng slowly calmed down. He was constantly operating the embracing young god tactic, and the burning flames of lust was gradually being refined by him. Although there was still a terrible desire dominating him, but he was able to control it. The severing emotions sword that had pierced through his core lake, under the influence of the embracing young god tactic, melted away like ice and snow. Moreover, the damaged core lake, under the influence of the mysterious yellow aura, was instantly restored. Not knowing how long had passed, Ning Cheng's cultivation was finally restored. Ning Cheng opened his eyes, and when he saw that the person sitting in front of him turned out to be a woman who, whether it was temperament or appearance, was even more beautiful and noble than Su Yingde, he was immediately stunned. This kind of noble temperament he had only ever seen in one person, and that was elder sister Shu. But this white-robed woman in front of him was obviously not elder sister Shu. She was like a fairy that came from above the ninth heaven. As long as one looked at her, one would feel a sense of tranquility. "Don't move around, your situation is very bad." The white-robed woman spoke out in a soft voice. "Who are you? Why did you save me?" At the moment when Su Yingde severed her emotions, Ning Cheng had completely matured. The strong desire was still churning in his body, but he was barely able to control it. "I'm called Shi Qionghua, Su Yingde's master." The white-robed woman spoke to Ning Cheng in a very soft tone. It was completely different from the indifference she would have when speaking to others. Ning Cheng's complexion immediately changed. It was the severing emotions Dao sect again. Initially, when he had gone to the Rainbow Fall Sword sect to propose a marriage for Su Yingde, he had heard that it was this woman. The disciple had severed her emotions on this father's body, and now the master had also come to sever her emotions. "This father came from earth. It is not that I do not know how to be black, it is just that I do not like it. Do you all think that I am easy to bully?" "Ah!" Ning Cheng suddenly covered his chest. Shi Qionghua was just about to investigate Ning Cheng's situation, when Ning Cheng, who was right in front of her, suddenly raised his hand like lightning, and several shadows that she could not even see, exploded on Shi Qionghua's body. Chapter 324. Shi Qionghua had never thought that Ning Cheng, who in her eyes did not even have half a shred of strength, would suddenly explode. Even if her cultivation was a lot higher than Ning Cheng's, in the case where she was caught unprepared, and at such a short distance, she was still hit by the explosion head-on. For those who had their emotions severed by the sword of severing emotion, how could they still have the power to resist? And there was even an attack that could burn one's body? It was even more impossible to resist, but how did Ning Cheng do it? Not waiting for her to even think about it, Ning Cheng's two hands were just like flowers fluttering in the wind, as they continuously bombarded Shi Qionghua's body. He did not care whether Shi Qionghuа was a woman or not. Although Shi Qionghuа was angry at Ning Cheng for suddenly launching a sneak attack, but she did not put Ning Cheng in her eyes. The difference between her and Ning Cheng's cultivation was simply too big. Even if she was restrained, she could undo it in a breath's time. However, Shi Qionghuа soon felt that something was wrong. Ning Cheng was not simply suppressing her, rather Ning Cheng's technique was just like an array flag, which completely imprisoned her Zifu and Dantian. Not only was she unable to use her spiritual sense, but even her true essence was completely imprisoned. The Forsaken Land. Shi Qionghua called out in horror. She had obtained an introduction about the spiritual consciousness and true essence in the Forsaken Land. Ning Cheng's technique was exactly the same as the one used to imprison true essence and spiritual consciousness in the Forsaken Land. How could Ning City be related to this ancient Forsaken Land? And he even knew the method to imprison divine sense in the Forsaken Land? Although she knew a little about the confinement techniques of the Forsaken Land, she definitely wouldn't be able to do it. While Shi Qionghua was still in a state of shock, Ning Cheng had already completely sealed Shi Qionghua. The next moment, Ning Cheng raised his hand and tore off the white robes covering Shi Qionghua's body. A kind of virgin fragrance that almost made Ning Cheng dizzy. Ning Cheng stared blankly at Shi Qionghua's beautiful body. At this moment he did not know if he was drunk, or if he felt that he was wrong. He had already seen Yin Kongchan and Su Yingde's bodies. If someone said that there was a woman with a body more perfect than these two women, Ning Cheng would not believe it. But now, he believed it. Shi Qionghua's body was the most beautiful masterpiece of the Creator. It was so perfect that no words could describe it. Ning Cheng sobered up at this moment, but when he saw the two dark red spots, the desire in his body once again rushed up. Ning Cheng, without any hesitation, tore off his clothes and pressed himself against her, without any prelude, without any unnecessary movements. At least at this moment, he did not feel any psychological burden towards Shi Qionghuа. Would a woman from the Severing Emotions Tao sect save him? Other than looking for him to sever his emotions, what other matters could there be? Since they wanted to find him to sever their emotions, then they would have to pay the price first. He, Ning Cheng, was not a person who could be easily bullied. Shi Qianghua was shocked by Ning Cheng's brutality at this moment. She had always been a celestial fairy-like existence in the mortal world, so when had she ever seen such a stance? At this moment, she even forgot to resist. Ning Cheng had already sealed her, yet he still wanted to do such a thing. When Ning Cheng tore off his clothes and pressed down on her, her face instantly turned pale. She could clearly feel Ning Cheng's desire. She wanted to push Ning Cheng away, but her cultivation was sealed. Ning Cheng's incomparably strong body, coupled with his masculine aura, caused her body to have a shy reaction. She had never imagined that she would have such a reaction one day. Shi Qianghua immediately knew that if she did not immediately break through her cultivation, she would lose her chastity. Ning Cheng's body was burning hot, as well as that kind of desire. At this moment she was clearer than anyone else. Ka. Shi Qianghua's cultivation was far stronger than Ning Cheng by countless times. Even if Ning Cheng used the technique that he had just comprehended from the Forsaken Land, it was still not enough in front of Shi Qianghua. When she began to attack the seals on her body, Ning Cheng's incomparably powerful seals, just like fireworks, completely shattered. A burst of stabbing pain came, causing Shi Qianghua to be stunned for a moment. She even forgot to continue to unlock the seals on her body. At this moment, she clearly felt that Ning Cheng had already taken possession of her. Even if she unlocked the seals, so what? 2 lines of tears fell from the corners of her eyes. More than 30 years of chastity, unexpectedly was so easily taken away by Ning Cheng. She did not understand why Ning Cheng would do such a thing. She had investigated a lot of things about Ning Cheng. She was also proficient in divination, and was able to calculate a lot of things. Ning Cheng was a very kind and principled person, so why would such a person treat her like this? In any case, she was also Ning Cheng's savior. Was it because of Su Yingde? But if it really was because of Su Yingde, then she would be the most wronged victim. Except for Su Yingde and Su Yingde's grandmother, no one else knew her position in the Severing Emotions Tao sect. As the pain disappeared, bursts of involuntary reactions surged up from her body. Even with Shi Qianghua's cultivation, she was unexpectedly unable to control the reactions of her body. Shi Qianghua bit her lips, did not move, nor did she make even the slightest sound, allowing Ning Cheng to crazily run through her body in the most primitive way. She could feel the burning desire in Ning Cheng's body, which gradually dissipated along with the movements on her body. Cultivating the burning body yang qi poison in the spirit domain, the mysterious yellow aura, the starry skies flame seed, the everlasting blue thunder city, except for the mysterious yellow bead that would automatically hide itself, all of Ning Cheng's secrets were completely exposed in front of Shi Qianghua at this moment. Shi Qianghua even forgot about the shame and the pleasant feeling in her body. She did not expect that Ning Cheng would have so many secrets. Huff. Ning Cheng gave a long sigh. At this moment he felt the burning body yang qi in his body completely dissipate. His whole person felt as if it had been washed by the rain of the immortal world, as if it had been washed away, and was now bursting with energy. As long as he was willing, the next moment he could advance to the great circle of the profound core realm. Ning Cheng climbed up from Shi Qianghua's body with some guilt, although he did not feel any guilt before, but after he really did it, he was still unable to get over this hurdle in his heart. He was very clear that the reason he had used to force himself on Shi Qianghua was somewhat far-fetched. Regardless of whether Shi Qianghua would use him to sever her emotions, at least it had not started yet. Even if it had started, whether Shi Qianghua would be able to sever her emotions or not, it was all up to him. Moreover, how could the accounts of a master and a disciple be linked together? These were simply 2 different things. At that time, he had been burning with desire, and had found an excuse for himself to do Shi Qianghua. Now that the burning body yang qi and the burning desire had disappeared, he felt somewhat sorry for Shi Qianghua. Fortunately, Shi Qionghua's cultivation was currently sealed by him, otherwise, with this woman's cultivation, it would only take a second for her to turn him into flying ash. I'm sorry, but your disciple tried to sever her emotions on me, causing me to end up in a miserable state. So before you could sever your emotions, I had to deal with you first. Ning Cheng looked at Shi Qianghua, who was staring at him, and felt a bit scared in his heart, as he spoke out in a stubborn manner. Even he himself blushed at the thought of such a reason. This reason was not shameless, rather it was simply too shameless. Shi Qianghua did not speak, she just sat up, and once again took out a set of clothes from her ring and slowly put it on. Ning Cheng looked at Shi Qianghua's actions in shock, and spoke out in a trembling voice after a long while, "Can you move on your own?" He immediately remembered that when he and Shi Qianghua were doing it, Shi Qianghua did not seem to be in a sealed state. Cold sweat slowly trickled down Ning Cheng's forehead. Shi Qianghua definitely had the cultivation of Crucible Transformation Realm. If such a person wanted to kill him, Ning Cheng did not dare to think about it. He secretly took out the talisman that he had used to enter the bottom of the blood river. Shi Qianghua had already put on her clothes. She glanced at Ning Cheng's hand that was secretly grabbing the talisman, and spoke out in a calm voice, "After you entered my body, I can move. What you did before is equivalent to paying off Su Yingday's debt. You do not have to go to the Severing Emotions Dao sect again, and also do not have to look for Su Yingday again. In the future, do not casually get together with other women. I thought that you wanted to sever your emotions on me, so. Ning Cheng awkwardly tried to defend himself, but this kind of explanation made him feel ashamed. At this moment, he did not feel any killing intent coming from Shi Qianghua. Shi Qianghua glanced at Ning Cheng, as if she wanted to say something, but in the end she did not speak. She was Su Yingday's master in name, but she was not a person from the Severing Emotions Dao sect. Moreover, she had never cultivated the cultivation methods of the Severing Emotions Dao sect. As such, she did not need to sever her emotions at all. Moreover, Su Yingday's cultivation method was not taught by her, but rather by Su Yingday's grandmother. When she went to the Rainbow Fall Sword sect for Su Yingday's marriage, she also did not take the initiative to go, rather someone had ordered her to go. She put away the bedsheet that was stained with a bright red color, and calmly walked out. Looking at the white figure getting further and further away, Ning Cheng suddenly felt a strong sense of loss in his heart. He chased after her outside, but Shi Qianghua's figure had already disappeared. Even his spiritual consciousness could not sweep her out. Looking at the endless wilderness, Ning Cheng felt a kind of torment and a deep sense of melancholy. He felt as if he had done something wrong. This mistake was not because he forced himself on Shi Qianghua, but because when Shi Qianghua left, he did not even say a single word. Ning Cheng returned to his residence, and found that the place that Shi Qianghua had found was a temporary immortal cave. Even now, Ning Cheng could not understand why Shi Qianghua wanted to save him. When he had forcibly violated her, why did she not kill him? Shi Qianghua had said that it was for Su Yingday's debt, but the last sentence was to tell him not to casually approach other women. Since it had nothing to do with him, then why did she have to remind him? Ning Cheng sighed. Before he had done it with Shi Qianghua, he did not think much about it. But after Shi Qianghua turned into his woman, he found that he could not forget her. If Shi Qianghua tried to sever her emotions at this time, he would definitely not be able to escape. He would even be willing to be cut by her sword. The impression and feelings that he had with Su Yingday for such a long time, unexpectedly was not even a 10,000th of the time that he and Shi Qianghua had spent together. Even during this time, he was still in a coma. After sitting in the cave for a long time, Ning Cheng put away everything in the immortal cave, including Shi Qianghua's torn clothes, before turning around and leaving the place where he had lost his first time. He wanted to find a place to advance to the Soul Essence realm, and then make a trip to the Severing Emotions Dao sect. Not to mention that the Heavenly Cusp flower might be in the Severing Emotions Dao sect. Even if it was for Shi Qianghua, he still wanted to inquire about it. As for Su Yingday, Ning Cheng had long since erased her memories. Su Yingday had used him to sever her emotions. Presumably she had already advanced to the soul sculpting realm, as such he no longer owed her anything. Chapter 325. Ning Cheng had already walked far away, before he finally stopped and looked back at the temporary immortal cave that Shi Qinghua had dug out. Even though he had already used a concealment array to completely conceal the cave, he still felt a little upset. Unfortunately, he was still unable to move the mountain with his current abilities. Even if he could move it away, his small world was still too small. He was a nostalgic person. Even if he used his entire life, he might not be able to forget what had happened here. After a long time, Ning Cheng finally turned around. Unbeknownst to him, a woman in a white dress was already standing not far in front of him. She was like a beautiful scenery, the hem of her dress fluttering in the wind. Ning Cheng did not know when this scenery suddenly appeared, but his heart was pounding fiercely. At this moment, he was really eager to see Shi Qinghua again, but he did not expect that Shi Qinghua would actually return, and even return to this place. People's thoughts were very strange. Previously, when Ning Cheng found out that he had taken advantage of Shi Qinghua, and Shi Qinghua had regained her ability to move, the first thing he did was to take out the talisman and prepare to escape. But Shi Qinghua did not kill him, and silently walked out of the immortal cave, causing Ning Cheng to be at a loss as to what to do. At this moment, he once again saw Shi Qinghua, but he did not take out the talisman. He also forgot that Shi Qinghua could kill him in seconds. He did not even know how he arrived in front of Shi Qinghua. He looked at Shi Qinghua's delicate and pretty face and did not know what to say. In his mind, an image of himself taking Shi Qinghua and Ji Luofei to roam the horizon, bringing them back to Jiangzhou, and then holding a grand wedding in Jiangzhou. When he saw the happy smile on his sister Wulin's face, he suddenly felt extremely satisfied. At this moment, he was completely immersed in this wonderful feeling. Not knowing for how long, Shi Qinghua, who had been staring at Ning Cheng, suddenly spoke up, "Why didn't you take the escape talisman with you this time?" Ning Cheng suddenly woke up, the longing in his eyes slowly disappeared, he shook his head and did not speak. If Shi Qinghua wanted to kill him at this moment, then even if he could walk away, he did not intend to do so. Although he was killed by Shi Qinghua, he did not have any resentment. The two of them fell silent again. A gentle breeze blew between the two of them as they stood there quietly. There was silence, but it didn't feel like that kind of silence. After a long time, Shi Qinghua once again spoke up, "That 9-colored mirage stone of yours, can you give it to me?" Ning Cheng felt very guilty in his heart, but he did not know what to say. There were some things that could not be resolved with just an apology. At this time when Shi Qinghua spoke about the 9-colored mirage stone, Ning Cheng did not even think about it, as he took out a jade box and handed it to Shi Qinghua. "This is the 9-colored mirage stone." Shi Qinghua was slightly surprised as she received the jade box. She knew about Ning Cheng. Although Ning Cheng was different from many cultivators, he was very kind. However, he was not a good person who would give things to others casually. The last time he escaped from the Heavenly Dao public square, it was because someone wanted to steal his things. "Such a precious thing, why didn't you ask about the remuneration before giving it to me?" Shi Qinghua looked at Ning Cheng in doubt. Ning Cheng once again shook his head, "In my eyes, even if all the mirage stones in the entire universe were to be added up, it would still not be able to compare to your sorrow. If the mirage stones, or even killing me could make you happy, then I would not have even half a shred of regret. There are some things that cannot be described with just an apology." Ning Cheng was not an expert in love, but he came from Earth, as such these words came out of his mouth, it was just that he was used to it. But these words were indeed from the bottom of his heart, he felt that he really owed Shi Qinghua. The debt of a disciple was repaid by a master. In the depths of Ning Cheng's heart, it did not make any sense at all. However, Shi Qinghua had never heard such words of love before, causing her eyes to soften. She stared at Ning Cheng, and spoke in a soft voice after a good while, "That is what I was willing to do. If I was not willing, then you would not have been able to do it." Shi Qinghua was not talking nonsense. The moment Ning Cheng entered her body, she had already recovered her strength. At that time, she could have killed Ning Cheng at any time. But she did not only did she not, but instead allowed Ning Cheng to run wild in her body. Ning Qing opened his mouth, but when the words were about to come out, he swallowed them back down. Shi Qianghua looked at the jade box in her hands, as she calmly looked at Ning Cheng and asked, "You want to ask me why did I save you? Why did I let you do this?" Ning Qing spoke in a dry voice, "Yes." Shi Qianghua was kind, but she would not use her body to save him. He and Shi Qianghua really did not have such a good relationship. To be exact, the last time Shi Qianghua had saved him, it was the first time he had seen Shi Qianghua. Shi Qianghua did not speak, but once again walked towards the immortal cave that Ning Qing had just left. As she threw out several array flags, the immortal cave that Ning Qing had concealed with an array formation, once again opened up a passage. Ning Qing knew that since Shi Qianghua had come here, then she definitely had something to say. He did not think that Shi Qianghua's attainments in array formations would be so high, to the point that it was even more powerful than him. Looking at the house that Ning Qing had cleaned up, Shi Qianghua was slightly sluggish for a moment. But then she immediately recovered her calmness, while simultaneously taking out a jade table and 2 chairs. Seeing Shi Qianghua sit down, Ning Qing also sat down. He had been waiting for Shi Qianghua to tell him the reason. "I'm leaving." Shi Qianghua spoke in a slow voice. Ning Qing was not surprised. Shi Qianghua definitely wanted to go back to the Severing Emotions Dao sect. He had originally planned to go to the Severing Emotions Dao sect. "I'm also planning to go to the Severing Emotions Dao sect." Ning Qing did not conceal it. Shi Qianghua's figure was getting deeper and deeper in his heart, to the point that she had already occupied the same position as Ji Luofei. Even he himself did not understand what was going on. However, he knew in his heart that this was not right. He already had Ji Luofei, as such he could not think about Shi Qianghua anymore. However, he found that he really could not ignore the things that had happened. He was simply unable to forget these things. Shi Qianghua shook her head. "I told you, you cannot go to the Severing Emotions Dao sect, nor can you look for Su Yingde." Ning Qing took a deep breath, as he looked at Shi Qianghua and spoke, "I am not looking for Su Yingde. I have never really been moved by her. Why would I want to look for her? She saved me, and I have already returned the favor to her. The reason I am going to the Severing Emotions Dao sect, is to look for you." Looking at Shi Qianghua, Ning Qing once again slowly took in a deep breath. "I think, I will never be able to forget you in my life, whether you care about me or not. I heard that you have a fiancé." Shi Qianghua's tone was very calm. Ning Qing nodded. "She is called Ji Luofei. She is not my fiancé, but my wife." After a slight pause, Ning Qing once again spoke out one word at a time. "In my eyes, you are now the same as Ji Luofei, although in your eyes, I am just a profound core ant." Shi Qianghua did not directly answer Ning Cheng's words, as she looked at the entrance of the immortal cave and spoke. "When I said that I wanted to go, it was not to return to the Severing Emotions Dao sect, but to leave the Yixing mainland forever. Or perhaps I will never have the chance to live, so I came back to tell you, do not go to the Severing Emotions Dao sect." "You want to go to Heaven's Way?" Ning Qing asked in shock. His thoughts changed very quickly. He could even guess why Shi Qianghua wanted to save him. Shi Qianghua had such a high cultivation, yet she spoke such words, and even asked him for a mirage stone. If it was not to go to Heaven's Way, then where else could she go? Shi Qianghua spoke in a dull tone. "Yes, I want to go to Heaven's Way. One of the reasons why I saved you is because of the matter between you and Su Yingde. I had already intervened in it. I am proficient in the art of divination, and I had even divined that you are a kind person. This time's matter, I am also partly responsible for it. I was also affected by the interference of Su Yingde's burning desire, as such the resistance was not very resolute. You cultivated in a small domain, causing your body to be burnt by the yang qi, and also cultivated the embracing yang god tactic, coupled with Su Yingde's burning desire. At that time, you were still able to find an excuse for yourself. So I did not blame you, and even tacitly agreed with you. I understand the embracing young god tactic. The embracing young god tactic was not created by Yan Fenghua alone, rather it is an ancient body forging cultivation method. Even Su Yingde's grandmother is not clear about this matter. Ning Cheng looked at Shi Qianghua in amazement. Shi Qianghua came from the Severing Emotions Tao sect. It was reasonable to say that she should be a junior of Su Yingdai's grandmother. Even Su Yingdai's grandmother did not know about it, so how did Shi Qianghua come to know about it? Shi Qianghua did not care about Ning Cheng's amazement, and still spoke. I only came to know about the embracing young god tactic after I got together with you. The embracing young god tactic cannot really resolve the burning desire in your body, although it looks like it is temporarily suppressed, but the next time it flares up, it would be even more terrifying. Until you are completely burnt to ashes by the burning desire. The Severing Emotions Tao sect's burning desire can only be resolved by a 9 reincarnated purine body, and I happen to possess a 9 reincarnated purine body. Ning Qing came to know that Shi Qianghua had tacitly agreed with him, in order to save him. There was a kind of indescribable thing flowing in his heart, but at the same time he was also angry at Su Yingdai's ruthlessness. Why was the master so kind, while the disciple was so disgusting? The second reason why I saved you is because I originally came here to ask you for help. I want to go to Heaven's Way, and only the 9-colored mirage stone can give me a chance to survive. After you left the Heavenly Tao public square, I lost track of you. It was not until a few days ago, when I sensed Yingdai's position, that I was able to find you. As Shi Qianghua finished, she gave out a slight sigh. She did not know what was going on in her mind, but she unexpectedly somewhat cared about Ning Cheng, thinking that she had saved him entirely for the sake of the Mirage Stone. Can you wait until you go to Heaven's Way? Or wait until you are above the Crucible Transformation Realm? Ning Cheng hesitated for a long time before speaking. Shi Qianghua was silent for a long time, before she spoke up. I only have a year of lifespan at most. I can no longer wait. What? Ning Cheng asked in shock. Shi Qianghua looked so young, how could she only have a year of lifespan? Wasn't it said that after reaching the Crucible Transformation Realm, one's lifespan would be very long? Since Shi Qianghua had already spoken about it, she also did not intend to hide it from Ning Cheng. When I started cultivating, a cultivation method automatically appeared in my consciousness. The cultivation method that I cultivate is not from the Severing Emotions Tao sect, it is not even from the I Ching mainland, but it is countless times stronger than the Severing Emotions Tao sect's Severing Emotions cultivation method. You will come to know in the future, that this is a kind of reincarnation inheritance. Because my spiritual soul is very powerful, it ended up being targeted by a powerhouse, causing her to suppress a part of my spiritual soul. Ning Cheng suddenly stood up, as he angrily interrupted Shi Qianghua's words and asked, Who? Under Ning Cheng's anger, Shi Qianghua unexpectedly became somewhat absent-minded, as she subconsciously replied, Su Anjun. Chapter 326. Su Anjun is Su Yingdai's grandmother, and is also the person with the highest cultivation in the Severing Emotions Tao sect. Even in the entire I Ching mainland, I am afraid that there is no one with a higher cultivation than her. Shi Qianghua's tone was calm, and one could not hear any hatred in it. However, Ning Cheng was able to hear the sadness hidden deep within her heart from her words. When he understood the meaning behind Shi Qianghua's words, and came to know that Su Anjun was Su Yingdai's grandmother, Ning Cheng was immediately stunned. Shi Qianghua was a person from the Severing Emotions Tao sect, and was also Su Yingdai's master, so why would Su Yingdai's grandmother want to suppress Shi Qianghua's spiritual soul? Was it because Shi Qianghua did not cultivate the cultivation methods of the Severing Emotions Tao sect? I do not cultivate the cultivation method of the Severing Emotions Tao sect, so strictly speaking, I am also not a person of the Severing Emotions Tao sect. The reason why I am in the Severing Emotions Tao sect is because a part of my life essence was suppressed by Su Anjun, as such I do not have even half a shred of ability to resist. I have helped the Severing Emotions Tao sect with many things over the years, so no matter where Su Yingdai goes, I will always protect her. As Shi Qianghua spoke till here she was somewhat distracted, and after a while she continued, rather than saying that I am Yingdai's master, it would be better to say that I am her guardian. Although Su Anjun's cultivation was extremely high, her soul was injured. Moreover, the damage to her corporeal body was also very severe. As such, her attacks were also affected. My primordial spirit is powerful and pure. She suppressed my primordial spirit because she wanted to use it for herself. Once she recovers to a certain extent, she would then devour that part of my life essence, and then take control of me to return to the severing emotions Tao sect, to become her tonic, to perfect her life essence. With her ability, she should be able to devour my suppressed primordial spirit in about a year. If she can find something like the geocentric 9-yin essence, then perhaps it would only take half a year or even less. This old pious woman. Even if Ning Cheng's mind had already calmed down, he still could not help but curse out loud. He had initially thought that Shi Qionghua's lifespan had truly come to an end, but it turned out that her life essence was suppressed by that old thing Su Anjin, who even wanted to devour Shi Qionghua's life essence. Shi Qionghua calmly spoke, "She doesn't look old. Indeed, like ancestor, like seed. I almost fell in love with Su Yingde, damn it." Ning Qing cursed, while at the same time blushed with shame for his own temperament. Even if his cultivation was only at the profound core realm, he absolutely had to go to the severing emotions Tao sect and steal the suppressed part of Shi Qionghua's life essence. When Shi Qionghua heard Ning Cheng's words, she shook her head and spoke, "Su Yingde will not dual cultivate with you, even if you are moved by her, it would still be useless. I've had her for 20 years, and no one knows her better than I do. But that morning, she took off all her clothes and came to my bed. If not for Yin Kongchan's interruption, we would have already entered into dual cultivation." Ning Qing spoke in doubt. Shi Qionghua took out a jade strip and placed it in front of Ning Cheng. The severing emotions Tao sect wants to sever their emotions, so if they meet a person with a firm will, then they would definitely use the intertwining emotions silk. You will unknowingly be infected by her, and even the smaller the matter, the deeper the infection will be. This was the jade slip containing the entanglement silk cultivation method. It was not easy to cultivate this cultivation method. However, after successfully cultivating it, one would not be able to sense it when using it, and it would not require any magic power fluctuations. As long as she reveals even a little bit of something that makes you excited, whether it be words, or skin movements, or even the aura of the entire body, or even the smell of the body, it would be able to infect your desires. Ning Qing immediately recalled the 2 times when he and Su Yingde had made love. It seemed that there was a fragrance that he had not noticed before, as well as Su Yingde's inadvertent exposure of her skin. It turned out that he had unknowingly fallen for Su Yingde's entanglement silk, and did not even know about it. No wonder that even though he was facing Yin Kongchan, who was not even half a bit worse than Su Yingde, he did not feel even the slightest bit of emotion. Why did this woman not go to a brothel? You did not let me go to the severing emotions Tao sect, because you knew that I would not be able to come back, right? Ning Qing finally understood the meaning of Shi Qionghua's words. Shi Qionghua did not want him to go to the severing emotions Tao sect, not because of Su Yingde, but because of him. Shi Qionghua, seeing that Ning Qing understood her meaning, also did not conceal it, and spoke, "Yes, if you go to the severing emotions Tao sect, then you would only end up in a situation where there is no chance of survival, there is simply no chance of survival. Fortunately, I did not give the mirage tree and the geocentric 9-yin essence to Su Yingde, otherwise wouldn't it have harmed you even more?" Ning Qing spoke out in a joyful voice. Su Yingde had initially asked him for this kind of thing, but fortunately, he had not given it to her. "Do you really have a mirage tree?" Shi Qionghua asked. She was already numb to Ning Cheng's various secrets. She also had a lot of secrets, but compared to Ning Cheng, her secrets were simply not secrets at all. At best, she had a reincarnated inheritance. "Yes, I have a 9-colored mirage tree. If you have any use for it, then I can give it to you." Ning Qing spoke without hesitation. Shi Qionghua looked at Ning Cheng's indifferent eyes, causing her heart to jump slightly. Although her cultivation was high, but she had always cultivated under the pressure of the cracks and threats. Otherwise, with her inheritance and qualifications, she would have been able to reach a much higher height than she was now. She did not have any friends, nor did she have any sisters, nor was she particularly happy. Every time she came out of seclusion, the thing she liked to do the most was to silently go to some ordinary cities to help the poor. However, she had never enjoyed the help of others, nor had she ever thought of getting help from others. This time, when she asked Ning Cheng for the mirage stones, although it was not planned, but when it really happened, she would rather use her own body to save Ning Cheng in return, rather than kill Ning Cheng and rob him. At this time, Ning Cheng suddenly said that he wanted to give the mirage tree to her, causing her to be somewhat absent-minded. It was only after a while that she recovered and spoke, "No, the mirage tree is very good, but my cultivation is still too low." But that Su Anjin really can use the mirage tree. Ning Cheng secretly thanked Yin Kongchan for taking away his ring. If not for Yin Kongchan taking away his ring, how could Su Yingde finally let go of his miniature world ring? Is the geocentric 9 Yin essence useful to you? Ning Cheng once again took out a jade bottle. A bone-chilling aura instantly surrounded the immortal cave. Shi Qianghua immediately knew that this was indeed the geocentric 9 Yin essence. This is useful to me, but it is not very useful. My life essence is being suppressed by Su Anjin. As long as that trace of life essence is suppressed by her, then I would always be under her control. Going to the Heaven's Way is just a helpless move on my part. Even if I do not die after entering the Heaven's Way, I might still be suppressed by her. Shi Qianghua shook her head and pushed the geocentric 9 Yin essence back to Ning Cheng. Ning Cheng once again pushed the bottle of geocentric 9 Yin essence back to Shi Qianghua and spoke, "Senior apprentice Sister Qianghua, you can take it, I have 2 bottles." Shi Qianghua hesitated for a moment, before she took out a jade bottle, and poured a third of the contents from Ning Cheng's bottle, before she returned the remaining 2/3 to Ning Cheng and spoke, "This thing is extremely precious, moreover it is extremely difficult to obtain. I already have this much, you can keep the rest for yourself." Ning Cheng did not push it anymore. After putting away the things, he also did not speak again. He was thinking about how to go to the Severing Emotions Dao sect, and retrieve the trace of life essence that was suppressed by Shi Qianghua. Seeing Ning Cheng remain silent, Shi Qianghua took out a white jade bracelet, and handed it to Ning Cheng and spoke, "This is what my mother left for me, give it to little sister Luofei." Ning Cheng received the bracelet in surprise and spoke, "Senior apprentice Sister Qianghua, you don't blame me?" Shi Qianghua showed a faint smile and spoke, "I never blamed you." Ning Cheng looked at Shi Qianghua in a daze. He had never seen such a beautiful smile before. Shi Qianghua stood up. She had once again come back, and after talking to Ning Cheng about these things, she suddenly felt a lot more comfortable in her heart. "I'm leaving, don't think too much about it." Shi Qianghua's figure was a lot more relaxed this time as she walked out. Ning Cheng could feel that Shi Qianghua was determined to leave, as such he did not urge her to stay, and just silently watched Shi Qianghua leave. In any case, he had to go to the Severing Emotions Dao sect, and retrieve the trace of life essence that was suppressed by Shi Qianghua. This kind of thing, even if he knew that he would die, he still had to go. He also did not tell Shi Qianghua. He knew that even if he said it, Shi Qianghua would never let him go, moreover it would only make her worry. If he died, then Shi Qianghua would not know about it, as if nothing had happened. Luofei had that white-haired old woman to take care of her, moreover he had specifically asked elder sister Shu, so elder sister Shu would definitely find Luofei. With elder sister Shu's ability, Luofei would definitely not suffer. Other than Luofei, there was no one else worthy of his attention. This time Ning Cheng did not continue to leave this place. After he finished arranging the array formations outside, he directly arranged a spiritual gathering array formation and began cultivating. Ning Cheng's cultivation had already loosened up, but now that he had started cultivating, in just half a month, he had already rushed to the great circle of the profound core realm. In order to avoid the thunder tribulation from turning his and Shi Qianghua's residence into slag, Ning Cheng put away all the things here, and once again hid the immortal cave. He was ready to look for a place to cross the tribulation, and advance to the soul essence realm. 3 days later, Ning Cheng stopped in an empty field. After checking that there was no one nearby, Ning Cheng began to arrange a large spiritual gathering array. Tens of millions of spirit stones were piled up by Ning Cheng in the middle of the spiritual gathering array, just like a small hill. Ning Cheng had just reached the great circle of the profound core realm. although his foundation was not shallow, but he could not be like Su Yingde, who had severed her emotions to advance, who could attract the thunder tribulation at any time. After cultivating for another week, Ningqing finally swallowed the soul-condensing pill. The powerful spiritual qi from the pill and the rich spiritual qi from the spiritual gathering array converged together, just like a long spiritual qi dragon. In just a twinkling of an eye it rushed through the meridians of Ning Cheng's body, directly rushing towards the barrier of the soul essence realm. Unlike the previous advancements, this was the first time that Ning Cheng had felt the barrier of his cultivation. It was just like a huge door, normally he would not even be able to touch it. But now, with the combination of the soul-condensing pill and the rich spiritual qi, it directly rushed to the top. Boom! A roaring sound resounded in his sea of consciousness, as if an iron awl had struck Ning Cheng's heart. Ning Cheng, who was feeling extremely uncomfortable, immediately spurted out a mouthful of blood on the spot. This bombardment had indeed struck the door of the cultivation barrier, but the door of the cultivation barrier only trembled a bit, before it once again returned to its original state. It made Ningqing think of using an egg to smash a stone. What he was doing now was exactly the same as using an egg to smash a stone. Ningqing's heart sank. If he continued to attack his cultivation in this way, then relying on this soul-condensing pill, he absolutely would not be able to advance to the soul essence realm. He was also aware that advancing to the soul essence realm would result in a thunder tribulation. For this reason he had deliberately worn a set of armor. But this first impact, even the door of the cultivation barrier could not shake. If such a thunder tribulation were to descend, then it would truly be a strange thing. No, he absolutely had to take advantage of this opportunity to attack the soul essence realm. Only then would he be able to go to the Severing Emotions Dao sect, otherwise his chances of survival would be even slimmer. After understanding this point, Ningqing seemed to have gone crazy. Countless amounts of spiritual qi were being sucked into him, while simultaneously transforming into spiritual qi and true essence. Combined with the medicinal properties of the soul-condensing pill, he bombarded the cultivation barrier again and again. This kind of bombardment, even if it was just once, was enough to make Ningqing feel uncomfortable to the point of vomiting blood, not to mention continuously bombarding it. Chapter 327. Ningqing continuously spurted out a few mouthfuls of blood, but the impact on the soul essence cultivation barrier was getting weaker and weaker. Ningqing felt anxious in his heart. He already knew that even with these tens of millions of spirit stones, as well as the soul-condensing pill that he had just swallowed, it was simply impossible for him to advance to the soul essence realm. It was not that his things were not good, nor was it because he was not well prepared, but the resources that he needed to advance were simply too abnormal. The next time he wanted to advance to the soul sculpting realm, he absolutely could not rely on just a single pill. Ningqing was determined to advance to the soul essence realm, but now that he did not have enough resources, he did not even think about it, and directly took out the broken crystal stone that the old fogey had given him. When the crystal stone fell into his hands, he did not even need to absorb it, as an incomparably pure and rich aura directly rushed into his meridians, breaking through all obstacles, before exploding on the soul essence cultivation barrier. With just this one attack, a crack immediately appeared on the cultivation barrier. Such a powerful crystal stone, Ningqing was secretly amazed, as he desperately tried to absorb the broken crystal stone, and continuously used it to attack the cultivation barrier. Kaka. An even bigger crack appeared. Ningqing knew that he had opened a small crack on the door to the soul essence cultivation barrier. Boom boom boom. An incomparably loud roar resounded above his head. There was simply no warning, as 9 thick lightning bolts descended. Each lightning bolt was no thinner than a baby's arm. Ningqing had not crossed the thunder tribulation, as such he did not know how powerful the thunder tribulation for the profound core realm to advance to the soul essence realm was, but he had seen a lot of jade strips, and had also heard a lot of experiences. He knew that advancing from the profound core realm to the soul essence realm was a 4 in 9 thunder tribulation, and was also the first thunder tribulation that a cultivator would have to experience. The 4 in 9 thunder tribulation was equivalent to 36 tribulation lightning arcs descending. As long as he could block these 36 tribulation lightning arcs, he would have the opportunity to advance to the soul essence realm. What Ning Qing did not expect was that his first wave of tribulation lightning would be so terrifying, as 9 tribulation lightning arcs the thickness of a baby's arm descended. These tribulation lightning arcs had not yet fallen on his body, but he could already feel an astonishing tearing force. This kind of destructive aura almost made Ning Qing suffocate. Ning Qing did not dare to hesitate for even half a moment, as he threw the broken crystal stone into his ring, bringing out the cosmic true devil axe and bringing out his profound break spear, while the true essence in his body surged to form a true essence shield. Boom ka, the thunderbolt exploded onto Ning Cheng's profound break spear, causing Ning Cheng's profound break spear to turn into tofu dregs, before it was completely torn apart. After the cosmic true devil axe blocked the 2 thunder tribulations, it was directly blasted back several hundred feet. Not good, Ning Qing felt anxious in his heart, as he raised his hands and punched out a few times in succession. The formidable axe intent was thoroughly blasted out by his fists, causing an axe-line fist shadow to form in front of him. Peng peng, fist axe's axe-line fist shadow bombarded the tribulation thunder arcs, causing 3 of the tribulation thunder arcs to dissipate a bit, while his fist was like a piece of fragile firewood, as it broke apart with a "catcha" sound. The remaining lightning arcs almost at the same time tore apart the true essence shield covering Ning Cheng's body. As for the armor covering Ning Cheng's body, it was as if it was made of paper. Kaka. Sounds of bones breaking erupted, mixed with blood splattering everywhere. The powerful power of the thunder tribulation blasted a huge crater into the ground where Ning Qing stood. Ning Cheng's heart sank, as the threat of death welled up in his heart. He knew that he had not only underestimated the thunder tribulation, but he had also underestimated it by a large margin. He remembered a dream that he had once had, where he had turned to ashes under the power of the thunder tribulation. He had never thought that it would turn out to be true. This was only the first wave of tribulation thunder arcs, and he was already unable to avoid it. As for the later waves, there was no need to say anything about it. This kind of terrifying tribulation thunder arcs, even if he was fully prepared, he would not be able to cross it. The tribulation thunder arcs quickly tore through Ning Cheng's body, and in just a short time, Ning Cheng's bones started to crack inch by inch, causing him to basically lose the ability to resist. Ning Qing on the contrary calmed down. In any case he could not cross it, thinking about other things would be in vain. After calming down, Ning Qing thought of the embracing young god tactic, which was a body-forging cultivation method. At this time he was seriously injured to the point that he could not be more seriously injured. Could he use the embracing young god tactic to absorb the lightning arcs to temper his body? What made Ning Qing pleasantly surprised was that the embracing young god tactic really worked. After those lightning arcs bombarded his body, it was originally wreaking havoc on his bones and corporeal body, but the embracing young god tactic actually turned this kind of destruction into a condensed corporeal body. As long as he continued to operate the embracing young god tactic, the power of this tribulation thunder would directly begin to temper his corporeal body. Not only that, he could even feel that his own cultivation was progressing under the influence of this thunder source. If they could live, then no one would be willing to die. Ning Cheng was the same. At this moment, the embracing young god tactic crazily revolved, causing the lightning arcs that were tearing through Ning Cheng's body to instantly transform into a thunder source and be absorbed. Ning Qing struggled to take out a few healing pills and swallowed them down, while at the same time he also took out the essence birthing bamboo pith and poured it into his mouth. As long as there was a glimmer of hope, he did not want to give up. His body was rapidly recovering, his cultivation was also slowly increasing, while his corporeal body was also rapidly condensing. Even Ning Cheng's embracing young god tactic, under the influence of the mysterious yellow formless, it allowed him to absorb the thunder source at a much faster rate, allowing his cultivation to progress even more rapidly. But even with this, it was still too slow. Thunder once again resounded in the sky, and when several blue-colored lightning arcs fell down, Ning Cheng's heart had already sunk to the bottom of the valley. He found a sluice gate at the side of a lake filled with water, and began to release the water. Unfortunately, the speed at which he released the water was too slow, as the water gushing in would soon burst the lake once again. But his current thunder tribulation was in such a situation. He had a method to absorb the thunder source, but compared to the terrifying thunder tribulation, this method was simply a drop in the bucket. Not to mention resisting the next wave of thunder tribulation, even with his heavily injured body, he had only recovered a little. Boom boom boom. Another 9 lightning arcs fell one after another. Ning Qing suddenly felt his Zifu shaking in despair. It was the everlasting Blue Thunder City. Ning Qing immediately thought of the everlasting Blue Thunder Fort, and did not have the time to think about it. He immediately stimulated the everlasting Blue Thunder Fort to go out and resist the lightning arcs. At this time, Ning Qing was already equivalent to a half-step into the soul essence realm, with a formidable spiritual consciousness, coupled with the fact that he had been refining the everlasting Blue Thunder City. This crazy activation actually blasted out a cyan lightning city shadow. He did not really bring out the leveless Blue Thunder City, rather, he only brought out the shadow of the everlasting Blue Thunder City. This shadow was several times clearer than the shadow of the everlasting Blue Thunder City that he had previously brought out, and he could even see the outline of the Thunder City. Ka ka ka. The 9 lightning arcs completely fell on the cyan shadow of the Thunder City. A huge roaring sound resounded, as the first 5 lightning arcs were directly absorbed by the cyan shadow of the Thunder City, just like mud falling into the sea, disappearing without a trace. When the 6th and 7th shadow bombarded the cyan shadow of the Thunder City, Ning Qing felt a sharp pain in his sea of consciousness, as the cyan shadow of the Thunder City was instantly smashed into slag by the lightning arcs. The 8th and 9th cyan lightning arcs once again bombarded Ning Qing's body. After experiencing the baptism of the first wave of the thunder tribulation, Ning Qing was no longer as flustered as before. He stimulated his true essence and his axe fist to strike the 2 lightning arcs. Although he was not able to completely disperse the lightning arcs, but he was able to guide the embracing young god tactic to absorb the lightning arcs. Although he was already injured, but Ning Qing's mood was no longer the despair he had after the first wave of the thunder tribulation. At least he now had a way to cross the tribulation. The next moment, Ning Qing had already received the cosmic true devil axe. Under the influence of the embracing young god tactic, his corporeal body was constantly being condensed. Ning Qing himself could feel that his corporeal body was constantly being strengthened, and his ability to resist the tribulation lightning arcs was also constantly increasing. He had once thought that his biggest harvest from entering the Forsaken Land was that unknown iron rod, but now Ning Qing knew that his biggest harvest from entering the Forsaken Land turned out to be the embracing young god tactic. He had not used the embracing young god tactic in the Forsaken Land, but he had used it when he was crossing the tribulation. Not only did he use it, but it also became his life-saving unique skill. Boom boom boom, explosions resounded once again. Ning Qing knew that this was the 3rd wave of lightning arcs descending, causing him to no longer be as nervous and worried as before. With the help of the pills and the essence-birthing bamboo pith, Ning Qing was able to restore most of his spiritual consciousness and true essence, as he once again brought out the shadow of the everlasting Blue Thunder City. Another 9 lightning arcs descended one after another, but this time Ning Qing was already prepared. Of the 9 lightning arcs, the everlasting Blue Thunder City managed to extinguish 7 of them, while the cosmic true devil axe managed to extinguish 1 of them, while the remaining 1 bombarded his body, allowing him to continue to condense his corporeal body, while simultaneously enhancing his cultivation. Ning Qing could feel that with the condensation of his corporeal body, his body-forging cultivation method had even broken through some of the barriers. Unfortunately, he did not know to what extent he had advanced, as he simply did not know anything about body-forging cultivation methods. In any case, there was still the last wave of the thunder tribulation. As long as he could survive this last wave of the thunder tribulation, he would then become a genuine soul essence cultivator. Ning Qing had just thought of this, when explosions resounded above his head, as blue-colored lightning arcs descended one after another. But Ning Qing soon became dumbfounded. He saw the thunder tribulation, but it was not just 9 thunder tribulation arcs, he saw 18 thunder tribulation arcs with his own eyes. The thunder tribulation arcs quickly descended, it simply did not allow Ning Qing to continue thinking about it. Ning Qing crazily drove the shadow of the everlasting Blue Thunder City to attack. He knew that even if he went crazy, he would not be able to extinguish these 18 lightning arcs at the same time, causing his heart to once again turn cold. It seems that this thunder tribulation was determined to kill him. Before advancing to the Soul Essence realm, he had already made a lot of preparations. He had even asked a lot of Soul Essence cultivators. He knew that advancing to the Soul Essence realm from the Profound Core realm would require 4 out of 9 Thunder Tribulations, but now his Thunder Tribulation had already reached the level of 5 out of 9. What exactly did this mean? If one person was lying to him, then Ning Qing did not believe that all the Soul Essence cultivators were lying to him. Every time the Blue Thunder City absorbed another Thunder Tribulation, it would increase the burden on Ning Qing by a lot. When the first 2 tribulation lightning arcs descended on the Blue Thunder City, Ning Qing knew that he could not go on like this. He had to think of a way. If each of these lightning arcs was a first-class expert, then he would only be equivalent to a third-class low hand. If he could turn these lightning arcs into third-class low hands, then he would not be afraid of them. These thoughts flashed through Ning Cheng's mind in a flash, as he crazily controlled the shadow of the everlasting Blue Thunder City to move. The shadow of the everlasting Blue Thunder City, under Ning Cheng's control, had just touched a tribulation lightning arc, when it was immediately transferred away by Ning Cheng. But this tribulation lightning arc, after being absorbed by the everlasting Blue Thunder City's thunder source, still continued to descend, but compared to the original one, its power was much smaller. Chapter 328. As the 18 tribulation thunder arcs passed by, Ning Qing finally breathed a sigh of relief. However, this was only a gap of a few breaths, when the dense tribulation thunder arcs descended once again. As the 18 lightning arcs descended once again, Ning Qing was barely able to control the shadow of the Blue Thunder City, while his sea of consciousness began to feel a tearing pain. The more lightning arcs the Blue Thunder City absorbed, the more difficult it was for him to control it. However, Ning Qing was very clear in his heart. Once the shadow of the everlasting Blue Thunder City disappeared, then he would be completely finished. Without the shadow of the Blue Thunder City, under this kind of terrifying tribulation thunder, he was nothing, and would be torn to pieces at any moment. Puff, vomiting a mouthful of blood, Ning Qing felt his sea of consciousness crack open. Even if he crazily operated the embracing young god tactic, he still could not hold on. The 18 lightning arcs had not completely passed, when another 9 lightning arcs descended. Boom! A violent shock exploded in Ning Cheng's sea of consciousness. His spiritual consciousness seemed to have strengthened several times, even his true essence had increased exponentially. The tens of millions of spirit stones in the spiritual gathering array, at this moment, completely turned into a spiritual chi mist, which directly poured into Ning Cheng's meridians. With a catcha sound, the golden core above his core lake cracked open at this moment, forming a vague shadow of a soul essence. With his powerful true essence and spiritual consciousness, Ning Qing instantly felt relaxed. The shadow of the Blue Thunder City that was about to disappear not only did not continue to disappear, but instead became even more clear. Ning Qing finally experienced what was called a glimmer of hope. He had broken through the shackles at the most critical time, and advanced to the Soul Essence realm. He had heard that when one advanced to the early stages of the Soul Essence realm, the Soul Essence would be vague and almost indistinguishable. But he had just advanced to the Soul Essence realm, yet his Soul Essence was already incomparably clear. It showed that his strength was definitely far beyond the Soul Essence cultivators of the same level. When the last 9 tribulation thunder arcs descended, Ning Qing was completely relieved. With his cultivation at the early stages of the Soul Essence realm, as long as he did not suffer too many tribulation thunder arcs at once, he believed that he would not die. When the 81st lightning arc was blocked by the everlasting Blue Thunder City, and then fell on Ning Cheng's body, the sky suddenly cleared up. A colorful cloud suddenly appeared over his head, and water droplets fell from the clouds like rain, directly falling on Ning Cheng's body. An indescribable enlightenment flooded Ning Cheng's mind. Ning Cheng's cultivation not only skyrocketed at this moment, but his life essence also quickly solidified. Moreover, his injuries were also rapidly recovering. Even the essence birthing bamboo pith was far inferior to this kind of water droplet. This kind of powerful insight, how could Ning Qing let it go? His spiritual consciousness was becoming more and more mellow, while his true essence was also getting stronger, while Ning Cheng's magical skills and spear intent were also constantly being perfected. Bang! The enlightenment was interrupted. Ning Qing found that the rainbow above his head had already disappeared, even the water droplets that were dripping down had also disappeared. Ning Qing secretly called out in his heart that it was a pity, the time was just too short. Ning Qing knew that he had safely passed through the soul essence thunder tribulation, although at this time he looked battered and exhausted, with blood stains all over his body, but in his heart he was incomparably happy. As his soul essence continued to solidify, Ning Qing finally understood what Yin Kong Chan and Su Yingde meant when they spoke about it. When one advanced to the essence soul realm and condensed a primordial spirit, one's heart would give birth to an image, or as long as one was a bit more intentional, there would be no obstacles. After another half a day passed by, Ning Qing finally stood up. He examined himself. Other than growing a bit taller and his body becoming a lot stronger, the rest of his body was not much different from when he was studying in Jiangzhou. Once again feeling his spiritual consciousness and true essence, a feeling that was many times stronger than when he was at the profound core realm surged up. Finally having gained a bit of capital, Ning Qing heaved a sigh of relief. Now that Jiang Jun dared to be so long-winded, he would not even need to expend any effort, as he could easily crush this guy. Not to mention a soul essence cultivator, even if a soul sculpting cultivator came, so what? In this place, one's cultivation was equivalent to one's courage. Ning Qing casted several dirt removal techniques and fresh water techniques, and after cleaning himself up, he found that his skin, under such a violent thunder tribulation, not only did it not turn black, but it instead turned even brighter and smoother. It was no wonder that the higher one's cultivation was, the longer their lifespan would be. Every time they advanced, it was equivalent to becoming younger, as such there was no need for any youth-retaining pills. Only when one's cultivation could not keep up with their lifespan, would they gradually age, or would they need youth-retaining pills. After advancing to the soul essence realm, the first thing that Ning Qing wanted to do, was to go to the Severing Emotions Tao sect. He could indeed wait until his cultivation was higher, but he knew that according to Shi Qionghua's words, Su Anjin would never wait until his cultivation was higher before dealing with Shi Qionghua. Shi Qionghua was also aware of this, as such she went to the Heaven's Way in advance. What's more, even if there was no matter with Shi Qionghua, Ning Qing would not wait until his cultivation was higher before going. That would take too long. In his dictionary there was no such thing as a gentleman taking revenge, even if 10 years was not too late. For him to take revenge was to seize every moment. Ning Qing was not an idiot. He was very clear that if he went to the Severing Emotions Tao sect like this, then he would truly be an idiot. It would not be like going to his master Qionghua to retrieve the suppressed part of her life essence, nor would it be like stealing the heavenly cusp flower, but rather to die, to deliver things to others. Compared to the Severing Emotions Tao sect, it was like a child pitting himself against a strong man. Even if his concealment cultivation method was better, even if he tried to sneak around, if he went there without any preparation, it would only be a dead end. Although he was prepared to die, but he absolutely did not want to die. Compared to the cultivators here, Ning Qing cherished his own life even more. His fists were far from being comparable to the Severing Emotions Tao sect. He could only use his head to find the right time and place, only then would he have a little chance. In the Battle of the Fei River, Xie Xian only had 80,000 people, but he was able to kill Fu Jian's 800,000 people. It was not because of the size of his fists, but because of the size of his head. What's more, he did not believe that he would not be able to calculate it. After experiencing Su Yingde severing her emotions, after experiencing Shi Qionghua sacrificing herself, Ning Qing was no longer the Ning Qing of the past. He could choose not to harm others, but in this place, it was not enough to rely on not harming others, because someone would definitely come looking for him. When someone blasted him with their fists, his fists would not shrink back. Even if it shrank a bit, it would be more powerful to blast back. This time the Severing Emotions Tao sect took the initiative to provoke him, as such he would not be polite. Do you think that the Severing Emotions Tao sect would look for someone to sever their emotions? Shady people, I can also do it, it's just that I disdain to do it. After advancing to the soul essence realm, Ning Cheng looked for a place with slightly rich spiritual qi, dug out an immortal cave for himself, and continued to go into seclusion. This time Ning Cheng was not stingy. He not only used 10 million spirit stones to arrange a spiritual gathering array, he even took out the broken crystal stone. At this time, it was not the time to be stingy, he had to once again improve his cultivation. One had to say that this broken crystal stone was incomparably heaven-defying. Ning Cheng did not use any pills, but with the help of the 10 million spirit stones and this crystal stone, it only took him 4 months to advance to the soul essence 3rd level. The broken crystal stone in his hand had also become a lot dimmer. Ning Cheng guessed that if he cultivated a few more times, this crystal stone would completely shatter. After advancing to the soul essence 3rd level, Ning Cheng continued to cultivate the concealment method. If he wanted to go to the Severing Emotions Tao sect, then he would need the most powerful concealment method. Half a month later, Ning Cheng finally stopped his seclusion. It had already been 5 months since he separated from Shi Qionghua, as such he did not have much time left, as such it was time to take action. The Grand Peace City was definitely one of the largest true cultivator cities in the Tian continent, even when compared to the makeshift market of the Heavenly Tao Academy's public square. The Grand Peace City was also famous. It was mainly because the location of the Grand Peace City was just too good. In the vicinity of the Grand Peace City there were 3 major academies, the Red Sun Weapon Sect, the Red Star Sword Faction and the Star Gathering Mansion. These 3 academies were among the top 10 academies of the Tian continent, and even further away, even the Heavenly Tao Academy and the Severing Emotions Tao sect would often send their disciples here in search of good things. On this day, a very ordinary cultivator arrived at the Grand Peace City. Although this cultivator looked very ordinary, but his actions were not ordinary at all. He spent more than 10 million spirit stones and a large number of precious materials, exchanging them for a lot of obscure materials at the major merchant houses, such as silver void sand, rootless stone, segmented earth. This ordinary cultivator was obviously Ning Cheng. The silver void sand, rootless stone and segmented earth that he had exchanged for were all life-saving items. These materials were materials for crafting array formations, moreover they were also materials for crafting transmission arrays. Ning Cheng's attainments in array formations had barely reached the level of a Tier 7 array formation Grand Master, as such he could arrange a short-distance transmission array. Coupled with the fact that he was also a talisman Grand Master, he could also refine a transmission array talisman. Because of his limited cultivation, the transmission array talisman that he refined had to be accompanied by a transmission array. Without a transmission array, his transmission array talisman would simply be useless. After purchasing a large number of materials, Ning Cheng arrived at the Profound Light Chamber of Commerce. The Profound Light Auction House belonged to the Profound Light Chamber of Commerce. The Profound Light Chamber of Commerce was not only the largest chamber of commerce in the Grand Peace City, but it was also famous throughout the entire Tian continent. It was second only to the 2 major chambers of commerce, the Wind and Cloud Pavilion and the Silver Lynx. As such there was nothing to say about their reputation. Friend, if you really want to consign it, then you can register it with me, and then sign a contract with us. You can leave the things here with us, and we will inform you of the next auction. If you want to see our treasurer, then I'm really sorry, but I can't help you here. In the face of Ning Cheng's unreasonable request, the Profound Light Chamber of Commerce's receptionist flatly refused. What a joke! If any random person wanted to see the treasurer, then why would the treasurer want to be the treasurer's treasurer? It would be better for him to handle the matter. Ning Cheng did not expect that he would not be qualified to see the treasurer, which made him feel disappointed. If he could not see the treasurer, then he would not be able to carry out his plan. This small chamber of commerce's receptionist would not be able to help him achieve the purpose he wanted. Thinking of this, Ning Cheng stood up and walked out. The receptionist, who was responsible for receiving Ning Cheng, on seeing Ning Cheng walk out, sneered. He had seen too many of these kinds of people. All of them thought that their things were treasures, and regarded themselves as some kind of character, but in the end, they only brought out a few ordinary goods. What he did not expect was that Ning Qing suddenly opened the door and stood in front of the door and suddenly spoke in a loud voice. Since the profound light chamber of commerce is so arrogant, and is not willing to take a step forward, then it would be better if I never came here. I will go look for the Silver Lynx Chamber of Commerce. I believe that they would be very interested in my things, because they know how valuable my things are. Chapter 329. If no one came out after this shout, then Ning Qing decided to change to another house. Although the auction would be smaller, and the risk he would have to take would increase, and the possibility of his plan failing would also increase, but he still had to do this. What's the matter? A slightly hoarse voice arrived. Ning Qing immediately knew that this was definitely an expert from the profound light chamber of commerce, but he did not see where the person who spoke was. However, as long as someone responded, then it was a good thing. Regardless of where the other party was, Ning Qing directly cupped his fists and spoke. I have two very precious things, and wanted to discuss them directly with the treasurer of your association. It's just that your association refused my request, and decided to sell my things as ordinary items. Oh, does this mean that you are very confident in your things? The hoarse voice showed a hint of interest. Ning Qing spoke in a clear voice. Of course, if I did not have confidence, then I would not dare to come here to embarrass myself. Since you are so confident, then come to my place. I am the treasurer of the profound light chamber of commerce. This time the voice was even clearer. Ning Qing already knew which room the other party was in. Ning Qing looked back at the shop assistant who had contacted him before, with a respectful look on his face. With his head bowed, he knew that the person who spoke should not have lied to him. Ning Qing soon saw the treasurer of the profound light chamber of commerce. This treasurer looked like he was in his 40s, with a goatee at the corners of his mouth. Ning Qing knew that it was all an illusion. Even if he did not check the cultivation of this person, Ning Qing, from the imposing manner of this treasurer, guessed that this person was at least in the sea-opening realm. In this room, in addition to the treasurer, there was another old man. This old man looked at Ning Qing with interest, and suddenly spoke. You just said that if the profound light chamber of commerce does not accept your things, then you can go to my Silver Lynx chamber of commerce to put them up for auction. I really am very interested in your things. Ning Qing slightly paused. He did not think that the people from the Silver Lynx Chamber of Commerce would be here. For Ning Qing, the people from the Silver Lynx Chamber of Commerce were here, which was even better. I want to auction two things, because I did not obtain much this time. I hope to get a high price. Ning Qing's words were not finished when he was interrupted by the goatee. My profound light chamber of commerce sells things. There is no such thing as a low price. You can talk about what your things are. I hope that your item can really correspond to what you just said. His tone was a bit cold, meaning that if Ning Qing tried to sensationalize them, then don't blame him for being impolite. Ning Qing calmly spoke. The first thing I want to put up for auction is 3 drops of geocentric 9-ene essence. What? The goatee and the old man from the Silver Lynx auction house stood up at the same time, as they stared at Ning Qing with fiery eyes. The main reason was that Ning Qing's words were simply too amazing. Was the geocentric 9-ene essence something that one could easily obtain? Even in their auction, they had never of such thing. Auction before. Auction Ning Qing to such things, they say. Previously, when Ning Qing said that he could take the Chamber of Commerce to the next level, it was simply a modest statement that could not be more modest. If it, then Qing of it, they that the of Ning would the star. Of the sect, the auction would the auction. Even the Qing to wind pavilion of the Qing. King, the Qing, I Ning also to the sect. Of it. Of it. The Ning of the Qing of. To put, the sect. Ning Qing's eyes also revealed a trace of pride. Of course, but unfortunately I only have 3 drops. As long as we cooperate happily this time, I can even introduce my Dao companion to you. In any case, maybe there might even be a geocentric 9-ene essence for auction. Of course, if your profound light chamber of commerce really does not want to cooperate with me, then forget about it. Ning Qing seemed to have spilled the beans, as he quickly changed the subject. The reason why he only took out 3 drops of geocentric 9-yin essence was because he knew that even if Su Anjin obtained these 3 drops of geocentric 9-yin essence, it would not be enough. The old man from the Silver Lynx Chamber of Commerce looked at Ning Cheng. He hated Ning Cheng for not going to the Silver Lynx Chamber of Commerce first. But this place was the domain of the Profound Light Chamber of Commerce. Even if he longed for it in his heart, he had no way to intervene. Can you let me see this thing first? The goatee spoke with excitement. Ning Cheng did not hesitate to take out an exquisite jade bottle and put it on the table. Once the jade bottle was taken out, a cold and threatening aura immediately dissipated. The goatee trembled as he reached out to take the jade bottle in his hands, while simultaneously opening the cap. In just a moment, he once again covered the jade bottle. This was definitely the geocentric 9-yin essence. He was confident that he had not seen it wrong. It really is the geocentric 9-yin essence. The old man from the Silver Lynx Chamber of Commerce spoke out in shock. Although Ning Cheng's cultivation was somewhat vague, but it was definitely not high. Such a young man was unexpectedly able to come up with such a peerless treasure. Since we have accepted this thing, what are your requirements? The goatee was simply reluctant to put down the jade bottle. Ning Cheng calmly spoke up, I have already said it before, I want my things to be sold at a high price, so you have to prepare a separate auction for my 2 things. Not only do you have to prepare it, but you also have to do it on a large scale, and invite the powerhouses of the major academies to come over, only then would you be able to sell it at a high price. No problem, what is the other thing? The goatee hurriedly asked. Ning Cheng took out a small branch that was only 2 inches long and spoke, this is it. A faintly discernible aura came out from this branch. It was as if it was an illusory illusion, causing the goatee and the old man from the Silver Lynx Chamber of Commerce to feel somewhat confused. This is a branch of the 9-colored mirage tree. The old man from the Silver Lynx Chamber of Commerce was very knowledgeable, as such he was able to recognize what Ning Cheng had taken out, causing him to speak up in an incomparably shocked voice. Ning Cheng spoke up with even more pride, that's right. This was given to me by my Dao companion. This is the other treasure that I obtained by chance, a 2-inch long branch of the 9-colored mirage tree. The goatee quickly took out a jade box, and as if it was the most precious treasure, he immediately put away the branch of the 9-colored mirage tree. At this time, his eyes could no longer be described as fiery, rather it could be described as fanatical. This is our auction house's most distinguished jade card. From now on you will be the most distinguished guest of our Profound Light auction house. These 2 things, we can absolutely carry out the auction in accordance with your requirements. If you have any requests, just tell me directly, I will definitely be able to help you. The goatee had already treated Ning Cheng like an ancestor. Ning Cheng was still young and competitive, as such he accidentally revealed that he had obtained these things from his Dao companion. Good, I really did not come in the wrong, I only have one request. That is, I want the geocentric 9-yin essence and the 9-colored mirage tree to be promoted at the same time, the wider the better, moreover the auction will be held in a month's time. Because at that time, everyone would know about it, only then would I be able to sell my things at a high price. Ning Cheng spoke in a very high-spirited manner. The goatee patted his chest and spoke, Song Yi, assure you that the Profound Light Chamber of Commerce will definitely be able to achieve this. Not to mention that these 2 things would give the Profound Light Chamber of Commerce a share of the profits, even if there were no profits, just by auctioning these 2 things, it would be able to bring the Profound Light Chamber of Commerce to the next level. Are you Ning Cheng? The old man from the Silver Lynx Chamber of Commerce suddenly stared at Ning Cheng, as he spoke. Ning Cheng gave a smile, Ning Cheng. That kid is not as lucky as me, he is just a profound core ant. However, I can tell you that the 9-colored mirage tree was indeed obtained from Ning Cheng. As for how I obtained it, I'm sorry, I will not say it. I believe that the Profound Light Chamber of Commerce would also not ask me where I obtained it from, right? Saying that, The imposing aura coming from Ning Cheng's body grew even more powerful, to the point that it was comparable to a cultivator in the soul-sculpting realm. Song Yi quickly spoke up, "Of course, my profound light chamber of commerce is a gold-lettered name. How could we ask our guests about such things? Even the origin and information of our guests, we are also strictly confidential." Ning Cheng nodded, "And, that's good." Seeing Ning Cheng's imposing manner, the old man from the Silver Lynx Chamber of Commerce knew that the person in front of him should not be Ning Cheng. Initially at the Heavenly Tao Academy's public square, Ning Cheng only had the cultivation of profound core 8th level. Even if he was a genius cultivator, it would still be impossible for him to reach the soul-sculpting realm so quickly. What's more, he was just an ordinary soul-sculpting cultivator. How could they not see his cultivation? "Because the next time I come, I will be selling a longer branch of the 7-colored mirage. Someone has already promised me, so I will definitely bring it to you." So this time, although the 2-inch mirage tree is advertised, but it will not be put up for auction. "Wait until I get my hands on the longer branch of the 7-colored mirage tree, then we will put it up for auction. In order to express our gratitude to the profound light chamber of commerce, for the auction of the geocentric 9-ene essence, I am willing to come up with half of the commission." Ning Cheng put forward another proposal. Not to mention that Ning Cheng's proposal would only bring benefits to the auction, even if it was somewhat troublesome, it was impossible for Song Yi to not agree to Ning Cheng's words. "Many thanks to this friend. I do not know how to address this friend." Song Yi spoke out in an extremely straightforward manner. Ning Cheng was willing to come up with half of the commission. It was obvious that he was a forthright person. What's more, there were even more of these things coming. How could he not know how to behave? Ning Cheng showed a faint smile and spoke, "My surname is Kang." "Good, then elder brother Kang, shall we sign the contract now?" Song Yi did not know which Kang was Ning Cheng's surname. The eyes of the old man from the Silver Lynx Chamber of Commerce flickered, as he watched Ning Cheng and Song Yi sign the auction contract. He sneered in his heart. The profound light auction was indeed a big one. If not for him being here today, then it would have been a strange thing for this person surnamed Kang to be able to peacefully participate in the auction. With this kind of cultivation, daring to bring this kind of thing to the auction, it was simply courting death. What was the use of a paper contract? Ning Cheng put away the contract, before he suddenly sighed and spoke, "Actually, I believe in the profound light chamber of commerce. As such, it does not matter whether we sign the contract or not." "How can that be?" "The contract must be signed. My profound light auction's credibility is first and foremost." Song Ye's eyes narrowed into a line. Ning Cheng suddenly took out a crystal ball and spoke, "The process of us discussing the contract, I recorded it with the crystal ball. In fact, it really does not matter whether we sign it or not." Song Yi and the old man from the Silver Lynx Chamber of Commerce discovered that they had simply underestimated Ning Cheng. If the profound light chamber of commerce dared to break the contract, then the other party could just make a copy of the crystal ball, and then scatter it everywhere, causing the profound light chamber of commerce to be completely finished. What's more, if they could use the crystal ball to record it under their noses, then wouldn't it be very simple? "Then I will take my leave first. I will always pay attention to the profound light chamber of commerce's publicity," Ning Cheng said with a smile, before he quickly walked out. He had only started the first step of his plan. A month's time, for him, was already very tight. "Elder brother Song, this Shuang will also take his leave." The old man, on seeing Ning Cheng disappear, quickly followed out. Song Yi sneered. He did not even have the time to look for someone, as he also followed out. But he was soon dumbfounded. In his spiritual consciousness, other than that person surnamed Zhuang, where was Ning Cheng's shadow? Moreover, when he saw that person surnamed Zhuang, he immediately knew that the other party had also lost him. Chapter 330. Ning Cheng was not in Great Peace City at this time. He had changed his appearance into a pale-faced noble young master dressed in grand robes. The place he was at was the West Lu market that was only a few hundred li from Great Peace City. For cultivators, a distance of several hundred miles was very close. From a certain point of view, the West Lu market existed specifically for Great Peace City. Great Peace City was prosperous and the land was unusually expensive. Many people wanted to do business in Great Peace City but they did not have enough capital. Because of this, the West Lu Makeshift Market was born, and the West Lu Makeshift Market had many merchant houses that purchased spirit herbs and materials. Trading here was fast, and there weren't any formation arrays or restrictions on flying. Some roaming Xiao that obtained materials would rather come here to trade than go to Great Peace City. As time passed, more and more shops appeared here, giving rise to restaurants, inns, and other kinds of places. In the end, it became a marketplace without walls. This kind of open-air market could be found in any continent, but there were not many of them as big as the West Lu market. The largest spiritual tea house in the West Lu Makeshift Market was the West Lu Spiritual Tea House. The reason why many cultivators gathered here every day was not only because this place provided the most complete range of spiritual tea and spiritual wine, but also because there were all kinds of information here. Where would the mystic realms appear? Where would the treasures appear? Why would they need to form a team? Rogue cultivators would come here to gather information and then find a team to leave with. When Ning Qing came in, the lobby of the West Lu Spiritual Tea House was already filled with all kinds of cultivators. Ning Qing squeezed into a place with a lot of people, and asked for a pot of very good spiritual tea. Seeing the few true condensation and essence-building realm rogue cultivators around him, Ning Qing proudly waved his hand towards the waiter and said, "Meeting each other is predestined, help these friends to get a pot of spiritual tea just like mine, and count it on me." Hearing that Ning Qing wanted to treat them, several cultivators who did not know Ning Qing cupped their fists and thanked him. Looking at Ning Qing's luxurious robes, a cultivator dressed like a young master, he definitely came from a good place. This kind of cultivator loved the envious gazes of others and the flattering words of others. The waiter soon brought over a few pots of spiritual tea. Under Ning Qing's deliberate efforts to befriend them, the few of them quickly became familiar with each other. "I, Tong Du, really like to make friends with forthright friends like you. Many thanks to this friend's spiritual tea. These days I am a bit short on money, but the next time I am a bit more relaxed, I will definitely invite you to have a cup of tea." A horse-faced cultivator drank half of the spiritual tea from Ning Qing in one gulp, before speaking out in a forthright manner. For an early-stage essence-building cultivator like him, such a pot of spiritual tea was a very good thing. The rest of the people were also like Tong Do, as they drank the spiritual tea that Ning Qing treated them to, while at the same time making empty promises and compliments. Ning Qing proudly spoke, "It's nothing, I like to make friends with people from all over the world. In Crimson Star, in the sect, I can be considered to be doing quite well. This bit of spirit tea is really not worth mentioning." Although Ning Qing promptly changed his words, but the people around him were able to tell that Ning Qing was definitely from the Red Star Sword faction. For rogue cultivators like them, even if they came from a small academy, it would be very difficult for them to join, not to mention the Red Star Sword faction, which was one of the top 10 academies of the Tian continent. For a time, the surrounding cultivators started to talk to Ning Qing. It seemed that they knew that Ning Qing liked to be praised by others, as all kinds of praises poured out, making Ning Qing feel as if the Yellow River was overflowing. Some of the cultivators even took the initiative to take out some spiritual wine to invite Ning Qing to drink, but Ning Qing did not refuse any of them. Along with a few pots of inferior quality spiritual wine, Ning Qing's words also started to get louder and louder. "You don't have to praise me like that. In fact, although I am quite good in the academy, but compared to others, I am still far from it. It is not just 1 or 2 points." It seemed as if the wine had already hit him, as Ning Qing stood up, raised the pot of wine and drank it down, before speaking in a tipsy voice. "Do you know about the Severing Emotions Tao sect? Their academy is truly a good academy. Who can curry favor with the Severing Emotions Tao sect? Heh heh. My senior apprentice brother, no, this matter cannot be casually spoken about." Ning Qing seemed to know that this kind of thing was not something that he could casually speak about, as he gave a drunken burp and sat down again. Ning Qing had just sat down, when a few pots of spiritual wine were brought in front of him. "Tong Do, who had just said that he was a bit short on money, had brought out 2 pots of spiritual wine. Moreover, it was the strongest kind of spiritual wine. As if feeling the enthusiasm of the others, Ning Qing once again drank a pot of strong wine, before speaking in a low voice, "I will tell you a piece of top-secret news, you must not casually speak about it." "We will definitely not speak about it." Several heads squeezed in and spoke in a low voice. Ning Qing had come out from a major academy, as such they had not experienced all kinds of risks, as such they had seen a lot of second-generation ancestors. They all had this kind of moral character, but this kind of second-generation ancestor really did know some things that they, as rogue cultivators, did not know. Let me tell you, do you know which academy has the most popular son-in-law? It is the Severing Emotions Dao sect. You can't believe it, right? My senior apprentice brother Kang's Dao companion is from the Severing Emotions Dao sect. His Dao companion not only gave him the geocentric 9-yin essence, but also gave him a branch of the 9-colored mirage tree. You can't even think about it. Ning Cheng's words had not yet finished, when he was interrupted by countless boos. It would be strange if they believed this kind of nonsense. Some of the people had completely lost interest. They had thought that Ning Cheng was going to say something earth-shattering, but it turned out that it was just this kind of unreliable words. It was simply nonsense. The geocentric 9-yin essence and the branch of the 9-colored mirage tree, any one of them was one of the most precious things in the entire I Ching mainland. How could a disciple casually give it to others? You don't believe me? What I said is true. Ning Cheng, on seeing that the others did not believe him, immediately blushed, as his tone also became louder. It's not that we don't believe you, but who in the Severing Emotions Dao sect doesn't know that you have to fall in love before you can sever your emotions? Your senior apprentice brother Kang must have fallen in love with someone, and will have to sever his emotions in the future, right? Why would someone give such a thing to your senior apprentice brother? Besides, even if the Severing Emotions Dao sect had such a good thing, why would they give it to a disciple? Someone immediately spoke out in disdain. That's right, these things are so precious, why would they give it to an ordinary disciple? The person next to him echoed. Ning Cheng retorted in a very unhappy manner, my senior apprentice brother Kang's Dao companion is also a core disciple, in the Severing Emotions Dao sect. As long as a core disciple performs meritorious deeds, they would be able to get 1 to 3 drops of the geocentric 9-yin essence, as well as a branch of the 9-colored mirage tree. Right, I forgot to mention the spiritual enhancement true nectar. The Severing Emotions Dao sect also has a lot of it. A late-stage essence building cultivator gave a smile. This friend, although you come from a major academy, and are much better than us rogue cultivators. But why did I hear that the 9-colored mirage tree and the spiritual enhancement true nectar belong to the Rainbow Fall Sword sect's disciple Ning Cheng? Moreover, Ning Cheng is being hunted down, and has long since gone into hiding somewhere unknown. Ha! The surrounding people burst into laughter. Ning Cheng stood up in anger. You simply do not know, this kind of thing is only known to the disciples of our major academies. These things indeed belong to Ning Cheng, however, they now belong to the Severing Emotions Dao sect. Don't not believe it, senior apprentice brother Kang had already told me. The Severing Emotions Dao sect's true inheriting disciple Su Yingde successfully severed her emotions on Ning Cheng's body. Ning Cheng's emotions were severed, of course he was crippled, but his things were not crippled. Seeing the dumbfounded expressions of the surrounding people, Ning Cheng became even more proud. You don't know about this news, do you? Hee, not to mention you, even some of the major academies do not know about it. Senior apprentice brother Kang only came to know about it because he has a Dao companion who is a core disciple of the Severing Emotions Dao sect. After Ning Cheng's things were taken away by the Severing Emotions Dao sect, the Severing Emotions Dao sect, according to the contributions of each disciple, these things were then rewarded to the disciples of the academy. That is absolutely impossible. Do you know how precious these 2 things are? Someone once again refuted, but this time after he refuted, no one immediately stood up to support him. Ning Cheng looked at the rebuttal cultivator with disdain and spoke, do you know how much geocentric 9-yin essence Ning Cheng has? He has a full 100 barrels. Do you know how big a barrel is? Even if I told you, you would not know. Do you know how big a 9-colored mirage tree is? I estimate that you would never be able to imagine it in your lifetime. If you do not believe me, then you can go to the Heavenly Tao Academy's public square and inquire about it. Ning Cheng had sold a barrel of spiritual enhancement true nectar in the exchange hall of the Heavenly Tao Academy's public square. If he had not done such a thing before, would you dare to believe that a person would be able to come up with so much spiritual enhancement true nectar? If you have not seen the world, then don't talk nonsense. If you still do not believe me, then you can go and inquire about whether Su Yingde has advanced to the soul sculpting realm or not. She successfully severed her emotions on Ning Cheng's body, and has already advanced to the soul sculpting realm. The onlookers finally became a little restless, although most of them did not believe it, but Ning Cheng's words were very convincing. Moreover, the matter of the severing emotions Dao sect going to the Rainbow Falls Sword sect to arrange a marriage between Ning Cheng and Su Yingde was already an open secret. Then how do you know about it so clearly? Someone finally asked. Idiot, this person's senior apprentice brother Kang's Dao companion is a core disciple of the Severing Emotions Dao sect. This time Ning Cheng did not need to answer, as someone took the initiative to help him answer. Ning Cheng once again grabbed the jug of wine on the table, as he drank a few mouthfuls and spoke, I will tell you another secret. After my senior apprentice brother Kang obtained 3 drops of geocentric 9-ene essence and a little branch of the 9-colored mirage tree, he entrusted the profound light chamber of commerce to auction them off. If you do not believe me, then you will know about it in a month's time. I am a dignified disciple of one of the top 10 academies, why would I lie to people? You really make me feel very uncomfortable, as such I don't want to make friends with you. Ning Cheng muttered to himself, as he staggered out of the spiritual tea house. This person really talks nonsense. As soon as Ning Cheng came out, someone immediately ridiculed him with disdain. You cannot say that he is 100% talking nonsense, at least the matter between Ning Cheng and Su Yingde might be true. Just go and inquire about whether Su Yingde has advanced to the soul sculpting realm or not. Funny, what is the use of you talking about this? Even if the Severing Emotions Dao sect has such a thing, what does it have to do with us low-leveled rogue cultivators? When Ning Cheng left, he felt very relieved. Even if no one in this spiritual tea house believed his words, these words would definitely spread out. What powerful, of course, were just rumors. Ning Cheng came from Earth, as such how could he not know about the fearsomeness of rumors? Even if it was a dead rumor, after a period of time, it would definitely become a living rumor. Since he had planted this seed, then it would definitely germinate. Of course, he did not need to find someone with a high cultivation level to spread this rumor. In this spiritual tea house, there were many qi gathering, true condensation and essence building cultivators, as such it was the best choice to spread this rumor. You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.